Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Happy motherfucking Saturday.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Happy Saturday.
We did it. We made it to Saturday. It's finally here.
And welcome to Politics But Make It Fashion. Come chat with us. And we are interviewing Markie, and he is running for school board.
Yep.
This was that exciting thing we were talking to you guys about that we were going to be reuniting for.
Yes.
And we are in a super fancy studio right now, being told not to be afraid of the microphone.
Right.
And
We
really,
record on the iPhone, guys.
but in all seriousness, thank you for your time.
Oh, always.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
And we're super excited to chat.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Period. So now I have a lot of questions. There's no real, we're free forming over here.
Go with it. Yeah.
So, and then we're going to get to the juicy stuff.
Okay.
So now I'm meeting you for the first time today. I do follow you on Instagram.
Oh, it must be terrible.
No.
I do a lot of uplifting stuff. I try.
I know. And like a lot of charity work,
I do.
which
Yeah.
is really important.
I think so, yeah.
So-
well, I got to do my getting to heaven points. I need those. Yes.
Exactly. So where are you from originally?
So I grew up in the Greenridge section of Scranton,
Okay.
which is a little bit more, Amber would know, it's on the hoity side.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's a little, it's like the Masters of the Universe. And
It's
then,
nice.
but my mom and dad were from a place in Scranton called West Side. And West Scranton is a little bit more,
Ratchet.
what does that mean? You
Rat.
need to, yeah, because I don't know the new slangs and
I don't know how I
lingo.
would even describe that.
Ratchet, Dan.
I can say West Side's more blue collar just to keep you moving along.
So yeah, so my dad grew up. He had a steel business, and my mom, for like the first 14 years of my life, was a housewife, and then which I didn't realize that before she had me, she was going to school to be a teacher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she, right around like 14, 15, she was like, I'm going back to school. I don't give a damn what anybody says. And I'm going to, so she went to Marywood Nights and she subbed during the day. And then she got her teaching certificate and she taught at West Intermediate for 22 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then she saw things, I mean, you can progressively, and I'm not trying to get like into the politics stuff here. I'm just trying to give you context of why my mom got out, because I truly believe she's an amazing teacher. She saw that it was getting more like the writing was on the wall that teachers weren't going to be able to teach. I think teachers are very handcuffed in how they teach and inspire kids and try to get them, it's all of this test stuff. And
Yeah. No, I definitely agree, because I think you have to feel out your classroom and feel out your kids and then kind of go from there.
they're all different, so there's
Exactly.
I don't think that there's there's no one way to reach a kid.
Right.
And I think that a lot of the times there's, you get like, whether it's these state policies or these laws or stuff, but that I think that like have good intentions to begin with, but then they end up down the road being like a thing that's like, we should have never did that.
Yeah.
Where it's where and a lot of the scores aren't getting better.
Right.
So maybe we should all take pause and say what's going on and have some hard talks. But so that's why my mom got out. My dad retired. My dad had the steel business and retired. And
we never took like really those tests because we went to private school.
well, I got lucky because when I graduated, I think there's like this senior project that you still.
Yeah, I did that.
I was the year before that was implemented, so I never had to do any of that.
Mine was on Vlad Dracula.
Of course.
Vlad the Impaler.
Yep.
All right.
And when I did it, he said that I was the only student he had that knew my material so well that I didn't need to look at my notes.
Wait, because you had to. Because you guys had to present it.
Yeah, I had to present it.
Oh my God.
And I didn't. That was my first year in a school, so a lot of people had been starting their senior project like junior year and knew, and picked something. And like we had kids build a car, do a whole bunch of like really cool stuff. And I was like, what is this? Like, what is a senior project? And so I chose something that I loved and wanted to learn more about. And yeah, so I did on Dracula.
Is a senior project a Scranton thing?
No, it's like I think it's a. Did you go to? Is that where you went to private school, right?
Well, I went to public school in New Jersey. We had to pass a test.
It might be a PA thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I never had to pass any test except for like
my
do
dad
the
took me
SATs.
out. My dad took me out of public school because he knew I couldn't pass a test and put me back into private school so that I could just graduate if I had the grades.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't look, we just met. I don't think that you're a dumb person. So what was it in high school?
you.
What was it in high school that like, because I graduated with a 64.6. They rounded it up to a 65. It
Like,
doesn't mean I was dumb. I just
No.
didn't like school.
oh yeah. I think, to be honest, my sister thinks so too. My sister is a teacher and my mom's a teacher. And they think that it's like an undiagnosed, some sort of learning disability with sitting down and having to read. But I think I'm more of an auditory learner.
Yeah.
But there was not a ton of auditory, I guess.
No, you definitely are. You
So-
definitely are.
So you have to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
I have to hear it. I have to see it. I have to, I don't know. I think I'm more artistically minded.
So I know this woman who's an incredible psychologist, and she's very involved in children's literacy. And she was telling me one day about all the different modalities that children learn in. One of them is auditory, visual, kinetic. That's like touching stuff and like experiencing it. So just knowing that those things exist, we're already not helping children who don't learn that way.
Right.
Because I learn by reading. And so if you're up there talking to me the whole time, I'm in another world.
And if you tell me to read it, I'll never remember it.
If you tell me to read it, I'm like reading it. I can, I loved when I could read something and then go from there. But like listening to lectures or anything, it's just like, oh my gosh.
And I learned by doing it. We're all different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't be like, all right, we're all going to read it.
So
Right.
to your point, something is not working when we're like, everybody's doing it this way, or you fail.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who set up that. I don't know where that got set up. I don't know, because COVID was a very eye-opening experience for me, and I started to ask questions. And the questions, they could be as mundane and stupid as like, where does breakfast come from?
Mm-hmm.
Who was the first person who was like, this is breakfast? And it's supposed to. What I found out is that it breaks your fast
Right.
Yeah.
from sleeping. Like who the hell? Nobody taught us that.
No.
The only reason I knew that because I lived in the Middle East and they would say break fast.
It's still the same thing.
Yeah.
You just say it in a different way.
And I was like, oh, you're breaking your fast.
Yes. So,
Like, duh.
and I think that, look, you have people in your life that are educators. I'm sure they've told you stories. Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm good. Taking my shoes off.
Oh, I did that too. You guys can do that too. It's kind of like a living room. You have educators in your family. I'm sure that they've told you stories that were like, about just like either public, private, or just education in general.
Yeah.
The testing is like the bane of my sister's existence.
Probably because she knows in her soul it's dumb.
She's like, this is not a good baseline to factor and decide if this kid should move. Yeah.
Right.
So all that to say, to your point, so yeah, it's not working.
Yeah. So did I answer all your questions?
No,
'Cause
I just said,
zoned
where are
out.
you? You did. I said,
Well,
where
I
are
was
you
going to
from?
add too to that is when we were going to school together, we wrote papers.
Now, where'd you guys go to school together? Just so I can have context.
King's Academy.
What is that?
Training for reigning.
What is that? What does that mean?
Oh my God.
That was the slogan. Of our school.
No, it wasn't. I didn't know that.
I have it on a coffee cup.
Girl, I did not
King's
know
Academy
that was.
training for reigning with
I
the
did not
knights.
know that.
The knights.
Training for raining, like a rainy day. Is that like is that
No, for reigning.
Like the kingdom.
Over, like
like
the kingdom.
REIGN?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, you guys went to a Catholic private school.
Christian.
Christian.
Christian. What's the difference? Because I never understood.
There's a lot less hand motions and up and down and like
We don't
what's
have the
word?
apocrypha.
Yeah, we don't
just have the
a
Old
lot
Testament. New
less of
Testament.
the like ceremonial stuff. And we went to a like Pentecostal Christian school, so we're like fiery and loud and
having church. We had chapel every week.
every week.
But was it more like, so I grew up, what did Dan? Catholic?
I'm Roman Catholic.
Yeah, but like St. Gregory's?
Yeah, it's Roman Catholic.
Okay. And I heard somebody one day say, the reason I'm not a Catholic is because you mourn your faith. And I said, what does that mean? And they're like, well, think about like the ceremony of church. It's like, and then you're like, like right across the street here is Bethlehem E.
Yeah. Yep.
Go to one of those, you're just like, man, I feel there's an energy here that I'm not aware of before.
Yeah.
I just think Catholics do that. And I that's where I come from, where it's just misery.
See, I always
And
wanted
it seems
to go.
misery. I'm not trying to say that these people are like
I always
miserable
wanted
people.
to go to a Catholic church because it was shorter. Like,
Wait, how long's yours?
Hours.
No,
No.
like 45 to 60, you're out.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly. Like, I literally wanted to go to
Well, and
Catholic
like
church.
and too, like back in the day, it was like a solid. There was no like the kids were with the adults in church for literally hours. And there was that whole like sit up, don't be tired, don't lay down. You have to listen. And you're 5. I have a 5-year-old. I go to church every Sunday. She goes to kids' church.
Right.
Where they're like coloring and doing age appropriate activities. Right. And my church is like an hour and a half. But yeah, like it was hours.
And then you telling, preacher, you have time?
Take your time, preacher. Take your time.
Like, we do not have time because the Eagles play at 1:00.
And we got to get out of
here. We do not have time.
But then we would go home for like an hour, and then hour and a half, and then you're back at church at night.
I went up to, do you know where the Kmart used to be up on Route 6?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, LC, oh man, I feel terrible because so somebody invited me to go up to that church. Right. And they've been asking me for a long time. It's a Scranton police officer.
Yeah.
Right? And I went up to that church, and I'm not a church guy. I was like the George Carlin, like I was a Catholic till I reached the age of reason. and over the last 3 years, I started to find like a spirituality, like this thing that I never understood before, that like there is no explanation for it. Cause I think life is science and faith, so there's some things that we can't explain that like, have you ever seen 5G? I've never seen that. Everyone tells me it's real. My phone tells me it's real, but I've never seen 5G. So I went up to this church.
And is it causing cancer?
I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying we should make sure it isn't.
But we definitely haven't seen it.
So I'm at this church, and I'm going up there under the intention of like, I told this guy that I would go. I'm committed to this, and I really like this guy. And he wrote my name when they built the church. He doesn't know why. He doesn't remember why. He wrote my name on the stage because they said when they were building it, they're like, is there anybody that you're thinking of that you want to put on here?
Yeah.
Right. He wrote my name on there. He wanted to show me that he wrote my name. So I start getting like teary eyed. I'm like, why would you do this? He goes, I don't know. And I'm like, oh my God. So I gave him like a big hug and everything. So then this mass starts. It is some of the best musicians I have ever heard, right? This one girl could sing, and I start crying.
Yeah.
This is like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hope no one sees me. Like, I hope no one sees me. But I was riveted the whole time. And I walked out, and I'm like, you're not converting me.
Yeah.
But that was a beautiful
like
experience.
An emotionalness with the songs and the way that they're played, and when you have lows and highs, and it's like, and it gets you emotional.
Yeah.
And it definitely, and I don't know if it's like God or, whatever it is, or if you're just in that moment feeling it, but definitely,
Well, and also too, like if you go to a Cardi B concert and you're
WAP.
Exactly. And
what was the song we can't sing, but we can say WAP? What was that? What's the Christmas song you can't sing anymore?
Oh, Santa Baby.
Yeah, Hurry Down the Chimney, but we can say WAP. WAP is okay.
Yeah,
all right, I'm just making sure.
That makes sense.
WAP. WAP.
What did I say?
WAP.
See,
we don't say WAP around here.
Yeah, that's a slur. Did you know that?
No.
It's an Italian slur.
It is?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I had no idea.
Around here. This is why like there's different places have different things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's how you break fast.
Break fast.
It's the same thing. Nothing changed.
Exactly.
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't. I never heard that.
Yeah.
I actually remember I don't know if you remember this, but in high school, we were learning about World War II. And I was calling Japanese people the short version of the name.
Yeah.
And because I thought it was like a cute nickname.
Yeah, it was like instead of Christopher, it's Chris.
Yes, and so that was literally what I was thinking. And Chelsea told me, she was like, "You can't say that," and I was like, "Why?" She's like, "That's like a slur for Japanese people," and I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know," and I felt so bad because I had been saying it, like thinking, "Oh my God, this is like such a cute little."
Go back and watch the newsreels. So like the newsreels at the time, so like nobody had TVs, they had the radio, but when you went to the movie theater, you weren't going to see a movie. A lot of the time, you were getting your news in the movie theater. And they were all like, we got to get those Japs. Like they were, that's how they talked back then.
It is. So like, as I was researching this, I kept seeing it, and I watched some movies and stuff. And I was like, oh, well, so I'm thinking it's just normal. Every day. And Chelsea was like, girl, you cannot. You can't say
You can't say WAP.
Oh my gosh. It was funny. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's okay. So we've now found new slurs that everybody needs to know.
Ridiculous.
So next time you're in Dunmore, you know what to say.
Yeah, you say WAP.
And what not to say.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so like that's like I guess that's my story about like how like there are those religious folks who I think they miss the message. I think it's more about control than it is about salvation. I think it's more about like you need to behave and act in this certain way instead of are you a good person?
Right.
Like, are you a joyful person? Are you a person who learns from mistakes? Are you a person who is charitable? With your time, your money, or your treasure. Or
When
your
I
time, talent,
started
treasure.
getting out of religion, it was after I had read the whole Bible. And I ended up reading it a couple of times because I like to read a couple times through.
Well, that's how you read. That's how you learn. That's your method.
And I remember thinking like, what are we doing? Because y'all hating everybody and doing all this stuff. And Jesus literally was like, let's take care of the poor and the widows and the orphans. And like, let me give this girl water from the well and not judge her and all this stuff. And I was just like, what are we doing? Because you guys aren't acting like Jesus acted. You're not
WWJD.
like you're not showing the love to people. Because in the school that we went to, they kicked out gay students and stuff. And I just remember being so sad and so hurt and confused because I was like, how are we supposed to be loving everybody and like taking everybody in and you're kicking somebody out of school?
So are we hitting gay? We'll hit the gay. Okay. So what I've learned in the last 3 years, because what I had to do was I had to take off like political blinders. I had to be like, okay, like, how like the old 3D movies are like the red and blue lens. Yeah. I just had to take both those lenses out. And, there are, we look at, I don't agree with that. Because that's the group saying that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So like, remember how I said before, like, I think there's people that take it in a way where it's about control and like, in this stuff. And I think that's everything. I don't think that's just religion.
Yeah.
That could be corporations. That could be, so the crazy, like, why would you want to be in a group that doesn't want you in it?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, these groups are very, exclusive. And I don't mean exclusive as in like, hey, we're going to the fancy club that no one goes to.
But I think a lot of it is you're forced. Like you're like as a kid, you're forced into these things.
So it's like you look at so I have this friend. He's an immigrant from Congo. We had him on the show. His name's Ushu.
Yeah,
I listened to the episode. It was really good.
Yeah,
that's
Ushu's
the guy I was
badass.
talking about. Yeah.
So Ushu has like, even in his culture, there are traditions and cultural things that they don't want anyone to interfere with, and I think that like, we used to not have a problem with that. We used to be like, it's like, why would I want to be on a football team that doesn't want to be on, like, me to be on a football team?
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, what really matters is in my opinion, is are you okay with yourself? Forget the group. Who gives a shit about the group, right? Are you a good person? Do you feel like you're being a good person? Are you on the search for truth as you may see it? And not don't hurt kids, don't hurt animals unless the apocalypse comes and you need to shoot a deer. Like, you got to shoot a deer. I find that like, for some reason we have always allowed these groups to be the thing that like brings us not together. Whether it's religion, whether it's an NGO, whether it's a political party or any of that stuff. Like, I'm really like one of those guys that now is, what would it be like, Dan, like oppositionally defiant, where like the group tells you to do a thing and I'm like, I don't feel like I need to do that.
When it's all or nothing, I'm done. Like when, you know what I mean? When it's like, there's no wiggle room, there's no gray area, there's no room for you to be an individual person and things like that. And it gets really legalistic, and it doesn't allow people to just be themselves, but when you're growing up in that environment, like I grew up and, was told that I'm going to hell, if you're gay, you're going to hell, you're an abomination, something's wrong with you. And people would tell you this and preach about it and say these things. So it's like, you're trying to be okay with yourself,
right? But
then you're being told that yourself is wrong. And you're a kid, so you have to be there. Like our parents drug us to church.
Right.
Like you're there and you're in this environment and stuff. And I think as you get older, you realize like this group does not want me and I do not want to be part of this group, and I think you do get to that point. But as kids and teenagers, when, especially in evangelical, like, we didn't have a choice but to go to church. Like, there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're going to be there. You know, if I have to drag you along screaming, and you're going to sit through this. And, and it was like, if you live under my roof, you're coming to church. So there's not really any kind of, you know, room for you to be an individual, or even room for you to be like, maybe I just don't like this church, and I want, like, maybe I want to find a different church that I would like. But
so to push back on that a little bit, here's where I think there's a problem, right? And I talked to my wife about this. Like, we don't have any kids yet. Like, I just met your daughter; she's beautiful, and Jackie's she's
everything.
my girl. She's my girlfriend.
She's everything.
There's this thing where, and like you said, when you get older, you start to say, like, I shouldn't be in that group anyways. I think we're really failing kids by not empowering them. And what I mean by empowering them is a lot of people get affected by, let's say, gossip. You know, let's say things that aren't true, you know, that you end up taking to heart and blah, blah, blah. Like, I think we don't empower kids to be like, that person who's bullying you, or that person who said that thing, you know, you don't know where they came from. You know, I knew a kid in high school who was a bully. He would beat up everybody, especially his friends. Then you come to find out that he gets his ass kicked every day at home, right? But when we would almost get in trouble, he would take the blame. And he would go like, I'm just going to get my ass kicked.
I'm going to get my ass kicked anyway. So like, I might as well.
So then I started thinking about that. And I'm like, well, why does he especially beat up his friends? And I'm like, oh my God, that's the way he shows affection. Like, that's how he really cares about, like, so you don't really know like what the malicious thing that we receive, maybe we shouldn't have received it that way, you know? And I don't think that we teach children, especially, how to be like, if you want a kid to be an individual and think for themselves, forget the noise. You know, but I think you have to raise a kid with some sort of moral compass. Right. You know?
When we were in Bible college, I was going to counseling. And one of the things that the counselor said to me that stuck with me for so long, she's like, people saw you as like a bad kid, or they saw what you were doing, but they never asked why you were doing that, and never looked at behind the reason of why you were doing that. And it just hit me so hard. And I was like, you're right. Nobody ever sat down to say like, hey, why are you doing this? Or why are you acting this way? Is it because of your home life or different things going on? You know, it's never that question. It's just like, you're evil, you're bad, you know?
No, you're trying to force somebody into a container, and you can't force people into a container. I have a nephew, right? And you could speak too. I don't mean to talk over you and everything. Okay. So
I can tell when she starts listening, and then like,
yeah, if you disagree with anything I'm saying.
No, I can tell when she starts listening, and then she doesn't really.
I don't disagree. I'm just absorbing. And I mean, I have my own view that's different, but I don't disagree with where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like,
so I have this nephew, and I didn't get it until like there was a baby in our family. So my sister, and it was a terrible, like, just the act of getting pregnant was an expensive hassle. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I realized, like, when my sister started telling me, she's like, you know, she started reading all these doctors. She's like, because her biggest fear is like, don't screw up the kid.
Yeah.
You know, like, you get one shot at this, don't screw up the kid. So she started reading these doctors, and then there's a truth to it where it's like, kids basically get like their programming, their identity by like 7 years old. So the first 7 years are really important on like what your kid is going to end up being. But they don't fully like develop until about 25, which, if that's what happens, then everything that we're doing is wrong about how we raise our kids. So if that, like, we were in Las Vegas, and one of our Uber drivers was this man from India, and he was showing me the pictures of his like two daughters that he had. They were like 4 and 6, and I'm like, keep them away from the boys, whatever. And he was like adamant. He goes, not until they're 25. They have their education, they know who they are, and they don't have to rely on anybody, because he was concerned about like, I just want my kid to survive,
right?
You know. And I looked at my wife. I'm like, isn't that interesting that like in their culture, like, they know? I said, because I asked him, I said, why 25? He goes, because they're not ready. And I was like,
well, in other cultures that aren't Western, like, you stay with your parents, and it's not seen as bad. You're not seen as lazy. You're not seen as bum. Like, you live with your parents until you are like in your 20s or you're getting married.
Right.
You know, and there's no reason
and then
for
there's
you.
a dowry. Thanks, Ushu.
And so then there's no reason for you to really leave the house. And I actually am happy that America has kind of gone back to that forcefully because the economy and everything's super expensive. But it's like, it shouldn't be a shame for you to still be there and still be in your parents' house. And
so the difference is like with them, with like all those other cultures is like those kids, like think about the Irish, right? So when the Irish were in, the reason why everybody's like, man, Irish have so many kids, right? Because there was two reasons. Number one,
they're Catholic.
Well, they don't believe in
birth control.
Well, I don't think they had it back then. Well, what would birth control?
There's the rhythm method.
No, they don't.
The pull-out method.
But
No, it's the rhythm method.
but when you didn't believe in birth control back in the day, like you didn't pull out.
So when the Irish, there was a lot of famine, right? And you didn't know where you're going to get your. Think about it. You're having all these kids. How are you going to feed all these kids? Like you guys are strong women in the year 2023, and I'm sure every now and again you're like, we have enough food for like 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with them, they would lose like half their kids, like to something, but the other ones were working the fields. So in other words, like there's something. I think there is something to be said about like growing up on like a farm, or having to get up at like 6 or 5 o'clock and milk the cows or tend to the chickens or go to the garden or whatever you got to do. Like, I think that there's something that's been lost, that like, if there is an electromagnetic pulse in the United States, we're all dead. And it's just going to turn off our phones. Nobody knows how to grow a vegetable. Nobody knows how to like.
Bro, I'm struggling to grow my vegetables in my garden. I never.
You got to take some soil from Scranton. For some reason, it just grows.
Oh my gosh.
I don't get it.
But it was the hardest thing. I was like, why is this so difficult?
Well, there's so many factors to it. Like I started to realize, so I have buddies in California, and when I moved, they started growing pot, and legally, because you can, in California, you can grow up to however many marijuana plants you want. He called me. He's like, you have no idea how difficult this is. He's like, you have to make sure like the pH is right. There's no acidity. Is there enough nitrogen?
Is there enough humidity? Not enough humidity.
All these things are factors.
The light, the heat. I had a friend that had like his own little grow thing, and it was so intricate. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. But that's what they would spend their days doing. Like, all right, the soil's not growing. Okay, well, great grandpa knew this trick about like, not having enough. And I think that a lot of those things have like, I'm a big fan of technology. There are too many phones and too many hands in this world, and nobody looks and talks to each other.
Well, what it is
that's why we're not seeing the UFOs. We're all looking down.
Too many phones, and people aren't utilizing the information that could be at their fingertips. Like, I swear, sometimes I'm literally like, we have a phone. You can look it up, Google, whatever you need to do to like learn something or research something. And it's like, people are just ignorant, and I don't understand that.
I struggle with that though, because I try to look up stuff. I wish I was more researched than I am.
I'll learn you.
But you look up stuff on Google. Everything I pull up on Google is like spun one way.
And the crazy thing is when you get to like page 5, it's repeat. Right.
Where I'm like, this is so much has an agenda, or it's trying to portray a certain message. I want just the fact. And I'm going through 3 pages and I can't find the facts, but I know for sure every author, every columnist, what their opinion is about the situation. And I don't want that. I literally want like, I don't care what my opinion is. I don't care what your opinion is. I want to know what happened in the situation. So it's, and then like I said, I don't get too deep into it. I wish I spent more time doing that, but
call me.
I've
got like 97 research. Jobs. And so, but like,
and I learned how to research though in college. I learned how to research as a social worker. If you go to
Google something, I feel like I have to get a different search engine.
So there's other ones that you can use, but also just, like when you're looking at journal articles or peer reviewed things or scientific journals, that is where I like to go.
But where did you find it?
On Google Scholar.
Can I help explain this a little bit? So I'm in media.
Okay.
Right. I lived in LA.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Dan.
Oh.
I knew that was as
Speaking
soon
of
as I
which-
said that.
You only said that just to get my reaction.
Yes, I did.
My mom's from California. I love California.
I can't
Dude,
stand California.
don't. There's certain parts that are
I have to
absolutely
go there
beautiful and amazing.
once a year for work, and every time I'm like
Where'd you
pissed
go?
off about it. Just LA, Torrance
Oh, LA's
Beach.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the worst.
So
I was hating when you were there. I was like, damn, I wish I was in
don't go.
California.
It's terrible.
I mean, I've been there.
I'd rather go to Montana.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So
I would also like to go to Montana. Like I would like to be everywhere.
okay. So here's what explains Google, and it explains a lot of media, right?
Well, yeah, it's whoever has the money, right?
Right. So, and a lot of people don't realize they're like, they see it on the TV or they get the ad in their pocket and whatever. They're like, oh, this just happened organically. No, it didn't. Right. The news stations around here, the TV stations around here cannot exist unless you buy TV ads. Right. If you are the person who buys the most amount of TV ads, the last person they want to piss off is you. And if you're the person who has all that money and you're like, I kind of don't want you to run that negative story about me. Do you know what they don't do?
Run
They
that
don't
negative.
run the negative
Yep.
story.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So I feel like that's what I mean, though. Like, it's not as simple as just like, okay, let me Google this real quick. And like for people like myself, I don't have 3 hours to go down 18 different rabbit holes. I'm like, where do I even find the information? Again, like I'm not looking to
Yeah.
level or balance or prove my opinion. I want to know like what actually happened, because I have an opinion, but it's not a fully formed opinion because I don't have all of the knowledge or the facts.
So
That's why I really liked Twitter. Because
come back. It's awesome. It's so much fun.
Look, I was on Twitter since like it started. And when I tell you the level of nigger I got after Elon bought it was so insane that I was just like, I'm deleting my account.
Like
Why?
directed at you?
Yes, like I would post like, tweet or whatever, and like you're just getting so much more hate. And I'm like, what
So
is
did
this?
you look at those profiles?
So I know sometimes I would to go see, and if it's real or
Amber,
if it's a bot
I'm
or
gonna tell you
whatever.
something that I learned that's really crazy about Twitter. And this might be anecdotal, but this happens to me all the time, right? So I like to ask questions. I'm not going to pick a side. I'm just going to be like, this seems interesting, or this is peculiar,
Right.
right?
Me too.
And then I get hit with the comments, right? And every time, 62 followers, 38 followers, and I'm like, you're not a real person.
Right.
You're out here. It's literally like probably some dude in a tub in Idaho
Literally.
who has 1,800 bots. Who the only thing that they do is they
Don't have their face on there. They don't have their name.
They're not real people.
Yep.
You're arguing with a video game.
Yeah.
You're arguing with AI. Like, don't even.
No,
So-
and I don't engage, and I wasn't engaging, but it's just like
It's much. I'm telling you, it's
I
much
like
better
my
now.
piece better than I like Twitter, and it was like, but what I was saying though, what I liked about it was I loved that you could just get a journalist on there tweeting live at a scene about a situation, telling you this happened, this happened, this happened, and you get that direct information. Now, once you go to the news, then it becomes, a full story or whatever. But I loved that access to just like journalists on the ground
In the moment.
and
Yeah,
being
yeah.
there and tweeting out live to that. And I think we have the same thing with like TikTok now a lot. And that's what I really liked about it. And I miss that because we know that things are spun, and it's like sometimes you really just want to know like, well,
Spun
how many people
crazy.
died? Like what happened?
okay.
Or like
That's why. So I mean, you can Google it and you can look it up, but like, do you have the 3 hours it takes to get the two answers that you need? Or are you going to go off of like, well, I guess this is what so-and-so said. And then you're all mad and you're all hyped up and you're talking about it and you're like, I don't even know that this is fully accurate.
Yes.
Like it's,
Right.
Yes.
it's for
and it catches
sure,
me sometimes.
It's for sure in like 19 articles, but like,
also when like bills are coming out and stuff, you can go and read them.
yeah,
yourself,
the bill that, yeah.
which is
What's that? Ain't nobody got time for that. Like,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's so you have to rely on the media to be honest with you about what it is, because I don't have time to read a 1,200 page bill.
Right. But then we also know that, I mean, a lot of my questioning for a lot of different things also started during COVID. I feel like a lot of blinders, like scales, fell off of my eyes. But that's when I stopped watching the news, because I was like, I feel as an American citizen who pays taxes and tries to be a good neighbor, I feel so lied to. and I feel like my time isn't valued. I'm sitting here watching trash that's like Republican spin, Democrat spin,
Yes.
liberal spin, the left spin. And then also, if I say something that's disagreeing with this party, then I'm hateful.
Right.
I don't hate anybody. I just don't have that opinion. And that, but it goes for both sides.
Yes.
So it's kind of a nightmare. But you guys, I'm sidetracking. It's because you guys were talking about there's too many phones and too many hands. And
But you're right.
and like we should be researching, but like what's the best way to research? And yeah, it's
But I mean, sometimes I don't even mean like dig deep things, but even just
I don't want to dig deep. I want to find a non-biased article. Like when I Google, that's all I want. That's
Right.
all I want.
Because sometimes I'm like, if you would just, some things are so, I would see people post stuff and I'd literally be like, dude, that's just not true. Like just go, you can go find out. And it would just, it was just regurgitated from wherever they got that information from. And then they're regurgitating it to you. And you're kind of like, well, did you, like, how do you know that?
I love this conversation.
Like, did you see it? How, like, who told you this or whatever? And it is frustrating. I stopped watching the news because it was stressing me out.
Well, so I'm about to call us out right now because I was talking with my dad. My dad was in military intelligence for 35 years.
Mhm.
And he's super
He's
like,
probably seen some shit.
to say the least.
Yeah.
And he's also very like, I feel like as a young child, he was like, what's the agenda? What's this cartoon trying to tell you? And I feel like I can
He's
watch a
not
show.
wrong.
Oh, I know. And I can watch a show now
And
or
I
listen
feel like
to anything.
Dad has such a good balance though, because there's some of him is would be say liberal, and then other things are conservative with him. And that's
why he won't choose a party, because he's like, what are the facts? Everything else is BS. I don't have time for it.
Right.
But I was telling him about how about the we went over the case where the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the website designer. And Amber was
What
like,
is that one?
So
Stuart and Mike, the fake Supreme Court case.
So but you were saying there was just a fake Supreme Court case. So there was basically
It's not a real court case?
No, it's a real court case, but apparently there's very little fact for
her.
She's basically saying what the basis is that she came up with this fake idea to get it into court. And so we were going over it. Now we're of two excessively opposite opinions on a lot of things.
You and Amber?
Me and Amber.
Oh.
So that's the whole basis of our podcast.
That's like the whole basis
Dan,
of our podcast.
I fucking love this. It's great.
But
I feel like I'm watching two people who like disagree like politely.
Well, but the basis of it is that like you and I can have a different opinion, but there's certain things like at the end of the day, you're not going to hate somebody and be like, it's my opinion.
Yes.
Unless
Right.
you're a child predator. That's different.
Yeah, right.
But
Why is that we all agree on that?
we all should agree on that.
And then now it's getting weird.
I'll tell you why it's getting, because who owns that? But anyway, so there was this woman who brought this case to the Supreme Court. Now, I'm like I'm trying to research it. So I'm like reading, and I'm ready, and I'm thinking about the process of like, was she discriminating against a person because they were gay, or was she?
What was the claim? This website, just to get me up to speed.
So
Because I think I vaguely remember.
So
this.
she is a website designer. Her website is terrible
in Colorado.
And she's never actually made a wedding website. So
Okay.
she filed a course saying that these two gay men, Stuart and Mike, had requested her to make their website for their wedding and a gay wedding. And
Right.
she didn't want to do it. So she took it to the courts. But
Colorado has very extreme non-discrimination laws. And her whole argument was basically saying, I don't hate gay people, but my fundamental right of freedom of speech, if you're gay and you want me to make you a website, I'll make it. If you're gay and you want me to make a website saying gay, whatever,
no, she didn't want to make it at all.
Whatever gay slogan was, she's saying, I'm not going to say that with my art and my whatever, because
Right.
I don't believe that because of whatever my faith is. So her argument was, is it discrimination, or are you infringing on my freedom of speech? So I'm ready to go into it. I'm like, this is an interesting thought, because there should be both sides have leverage. And then we found out that like there was all these articles saying that she faked the whole thing. Like there is no Stuart and Mike. They never, like she sent an email.
Stuart is straight and married with kids.
Well, but this is what I was talking to my dad about. I was like, I could not find any other article other than it saying that this, like in a Supreme Court hit to LGBTQ LG, what is it?
LGBTQ.
Oh my God, I'm like, I'm saying right. LGBTQ rights, the Supreme Court, and like now we're allowing discrimination. Well, I'm like, okay, so you obviously have an opinion, but there was very little facts about how she was saying, like, no, I don't want to say this and I shouldn't have to say this. If I am not going to make you a website for your birthday or your business, then yes, I'm discriminating
Right. And then
against
Chelsea
you.
made a good point because she was like, well, wouldn't Stuart and Mike have been the ones
To
like
complain? But-
and I didn't even think of that. But then
you couldn't find any information on it. And so I'm telling my dad, and my dad's looking at me and he's like, I'm telling you right now, you embarrassed yourself and you're dead wrong, because there is no way it would have gotten to the Supreme Court level
that's what I was about to say.
without it being fact checked and fact checked and fact checked. He's like, but just like every article you're reading is that they're promoting that it's slashing LGBTQ rights as opposed to saying no. Like you
But I
have
think part of the problem was this
but
one.
girl, it's not a fake case. So that's what
the
he's saying.
one journalist.
It's not a fake case?
No,
Well,
it is. The one journalist
my dad
reached
said that.
out, and I think what the issue is, and this is what when we're talking about Google and different things.
What do they rule on it? Is there a ruling?
Yeah.
They take.
They don't rule on
one-
fake cases.
Well, they take one article and then use that as their source and go through. So this journalist called Stuart. And he's like, hey, I'm probably not the first person that called you. Like, I just want to talk to you about the case and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm not gay. I have kids.
Like I'm married.
I'm married
to a woman.
And he was like, no. And so the journalist was like, no one talked to you about this. And he was like, no.
So is the case not real?
Well, that's what.
Okay, so wait. So we're arguing 2 points here.
Oh, no,
No. My one thing is like, is it clickbait unreal, or is it like unreal and it made it to the Supreme Court?
Oh no, the Supreme Court ruled on it 6-3, like in favor of the website designer, that she doesn't.
She's never even made a wedding website.
She's not
ever.
allowed to discriminate against LGBTQ people.
2SI plus.
SI plus. She's not allowed to discriminate against those people, but she is allowed within her freedom of speech to not say a slogan that she doesn't fundamentally agree with. So they did
what
rule on
was
her
the slogan.
So
though?
Amber,
like,
here's
what
the,
were
here's,
they trying to tell
here's the other
her?
thing that you have to think about. I remember there's a Jewish lawyer who works for the ACLU. I forget his name. He defended neo-Nazis and their right to have a parade, because he believes that free speech it should be allowed, and if you
in the United States.
In the United States, we have gotten away from that, right? So in the case of this website, what if the neo-Nazis said, "Hey, we want to make a website"? Could she discriminate against them?
Well, and that was kind of
Do you
what
see
we
what
were
I mean?
going.
That's what we were kind of going back.
We ended up like discussing the idea
Yeah.
of like, is it infringing? Is it not? But the biggest thing for us was like, this whole thing was fake. Like, how did it get to the Supreme Court? And what I'm saying is, my dad was like, you just like you can't find the articles. There's a reason why you can't find
Correct.
the articles. It is very unpopular to say you have freedom of speech if your freedom of speech isn't a popular thing that you're saying. So he was telling me, he's like, because my dad keeps real with me, which I love.
But
he's
what
like,
I don't
he's like,
understand, though,
you
is
embarrassed yourself.
Why couldn't
you
she
weren't
just
properly
say
researched.
no? Like, why couldn't she just have declined? Like, that's kind
Well,
of.
I don't know why
That's kind
it
of the
made-
part of it.
Here's the thing that I don't understand. If it's not real,
How
did
did it
she
get to
decline or not decline? We don't even know.
No, there
See,
wasn't a
So here's the thing that you like. I think that people need to understand about stuff like this is that there are elements in our society who are aching for things to go to court because
yeah.
and they want. It's both sides.
Yeah.
Both sides are both
All
sides. They bring up cases that they know like. This,
that
it's
kind
going to
of
get
was
appealed, and make its way to the
Because
Supreme
in my
Court.
head, I'm literally like, know what? If you don't want to do something, don't fucking do it. Like, how hard would it have been for her to say, "Hey, I can't make this website for you"?
That's why it doesn't make sense that she would pursue that. It would
That's
make
what I
sense
said.
for
Right,
them
that's
to
what-
pursue that.
right.
But then the information that she cited on the Supreme Court documents for Stewart's information, Mike's nobody can even find Mike. We don't even know where Mike is. Nobody could even find him. Stewart is a straight married man with children who's been married for like 10 whatever years.
And she used his information and
So-
a thing, and he was like, "I
and
have
then
no
one of
idea
the-
about it." He was like, "I would never ask her to."
And one of the emails.
See, but they would be defendants, wouldn't they?
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we thought. Like, wouldn't they be the people who?
well, that's what I'm saying. So trying to research a case, I'm like, did she end up bringing the idea to court to like fight the idea. I don't even know how this works.
That's kind of how I was like, was that it?
Then that's the weird thing is like on Supreme Court documents, the information for the men was wrong, but the one guy's name was right. So it's definitely a Stewart. Did she just look up a random Stewart? Is she making it up? And then one of the emails that she submitted for
don't you think one of the liberal justices would have been like, this isn't real?
Yeah, one of the emails that she submitted in evidence say that she made the complaint on June 27th with the court. The email that she got with the request was on June 28th. So they were like, the dates don't even match up. But then like the whole thing went through.
This sounds very conspiratorial, Dan.
Dude, it sounds ridiculous.
But that's what, like, all that to say, back to like the reason I'm bringing that up is because like it's not researching isn't always, finding facts is not always easy. The only articles I could find were from people who were like, this is like slashing our rights. This is giving her the right to be prejudiced against us. And then, but that's what my dad said. My dad was like, you embarrassed yourself. You were under research and there's no way.
I don't think you were. I
Thanks,
think
girl.
we had a really good conversation
we
about it.
had a good conversation. I just couldn't find any facts
And,
about
like,
it. Like I couldn't find any like non-biased facts. And then my dad was like, for you to insinuate that this would have made it to the Supreme Court, like no matter whether you're liberal or not liberal, Republican, like nobody, you're going to be
But
laughed
that was
off.
a really big question. And then articles came out.
Don't be afraid of that microphone.
And then articles came out after that and said, oh, even if the case was fake, it's like, it's still, that doesn't matter. And I was like, what?
So
What?
I don't know how you guys feel about Robert Kennedy Jr., but
Daddy.
but
oh my gosh.
so I've listened to him for quite a few years. Right?
Have you seen his video, his ad?
It's awesome.
Questionable.
So anyways, Robert Kennedy says, you got to realize that this is a guy that sued the federal government hundreds of times and made water cleaner for people. He stopped rivers from catching on fire. He's the one who sued Monsanto for the glyphosate for like $3 billion, right? He says, the interesting thing about like,
bro, Monsanto, they're
terrible.
Oh my God.
He goes, I bring a lawsuit. I have my experts. The other side has their experts. And they all have gone to the same schools. They're all at Yale and Harvard. And he goes, it's up to us, the jury, to decide whose experts are telling the truth.
Right.
My argument for all of it is, give me both sides.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing that sucks is like you have to now be the person, and it's scary for a lot of people. It's scary to be like, I have to make my own decision on this. No one's telling me what to do.
And I think it's scary for a lot of people to go outside of their normal
comfort zone.
Their comfort zone. So like, I don't like Fox News, but I definitely will go look at articles on, like, when we're researching things to discuss on a podcast, like I look at them. I want to see what they're saying about it. I want to see what other people, and I don't have a problem with that, because I think it's growing up and having to like learning how to defend your faith or whatever. I think that really taught me to be confident in where I stand. And so for me, if I like something that a Republican does, I don't care. Like, I'll like it. If I like something that a Democrat does, I don't care. I'll like it. It doesn't matter to me.
You're just more left of center.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be all or nothing, and it's okay to like go look at other sources and other news sources and even just get other people's opinions, and I think then you can kind of come to your own conclusion. But when you're just focused on like one thing and only one outlet, it's like you're not getting everything.
It's like the only hamster bottle giving you heroin.
Yeah.
It's the one you just keep looking at.
Oh my God, did you see that mom that put fentanyl in her baby's bottle?
She should get a bullet in her head. Sorry.
Period.
Sorry.
100
but I think there's a lot of people listening. They're not listening to hear and to learn. They're listening to find a hole in your point to like make their point louder.
Yes.
Wherein like I was raised a certain way, and I'm still to this day, like I grew up in the church, and then I know a lot of people who like hate the church and they've had such a bad experience where like I've been able to say, yeah, this was super messed up. This was super amazing. What does the actual Bible say in context? And like, let me get out my Strong's Concordance, like check it out. But I also feel like I was also raised a certain way when it comes to a political mindset. And that way was to make sure you have all the facts before you back anything, and know that a lot of this is corrupt.
Yes.
And a lot of this is who has the most money. And a lot of this is whoever's giving me the most money.
What did Reagan say? Trust but verify.
period.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody says, I'm the government and I'm coming to help you.
Yeah. There was the 8 scariest
Reagan.
words you could ever hear.
Yeah.
Is, I'm here from the government
and
and I'm here to help
you.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like, you have to, if you can't hear something and realize, oh my gosh, that's actually super valid.
Right.
So there goes what I was going to say and I've had to do that a lot where I come in hardcore and super strong. And then I'm like, I didn't know that. And that actually changes my whole mentality on the situation but you don't
and
have
you
anybody.
have to sometimes see things from other people's shoes too, like if, something's happening or whatever, and it's like, well, as a Black person, what opinion would I have on this as opposed to you as a white person? Because we're going to see it different, and we might see it the same.
Do you think that just because you're Black and she's white, you would see it differently? That just let's look at just that.
Because we grew up like really similar.
Well, not Chelsea, because she grew up in a very mixed environment. But I think that if you take somebody from like my hometown in Gouldsboro and me,
but doesn't that stereotype people? Like if you're like, hey, they're from, you know what I mean? So if it's
but I think it's
good. You see what I'm saying? Where it's like if you say like, just because you're white and you're Black, there's a different experience. Like that's been contrary to my experience over the last 3 years.
I think it can be a different experience.
Okay, and so what degree? 10%, 100%, 50%? Like that.
I don't know. I think it really depends, though.
Don't we need to figure that out? Because if it's only 3%, then it's like, man, we're really missing a boat on who else we can talk to.
But I think you have to be willing to look at it from somebody else's side.
1,000%. That's empathy.
And exactly. And I think like whenever, when people want to tell Black people what racism is, and I'm like, okay,
Joe Biden.
But
oh God. Wait. Can I do my Joe Biden impression real quick?
Please.
All
right.
No. Can you girls close your eyes? You ready? That was it. I sniffed you.
And realize that like people do have different experiences.
Absolutely.
People do have different lived experiences. So like, I hate when people are like, that's not racist. I'm like, how would you know? Nobody's calling you a fucking nigger. Like, what are you even talking about?
So wait, can we? Okay, so there is no more in my opinion. You tell me if I'm wrong.
Can we even do that?
White men. Yeah, you can tell me.
No, I'm saying, can we tell you your opinion's wrong if it's your opinion?
Sure. If I don't look, here's the thing. I love being wrong. Here's why I love
because we learn.
I learn, and hopefully I'm a better person.
Period.
I just heard period and surround sound. Oh shit! I forgot what I was saying. Damn it!
You said as a white man, tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
My opinion.
Okay, I don't think white men are looked at very favorably right now, and it might be the fault of some powerful white men in the past, but I think there's a dangerous thing to look at any group and vilify them based on looks. I think that's a really dangerous thing. And the thing that I've seen over the last 3 years, especially with COVID, because I think COVID broke a lot of people's brains, we are now so focused on the things that make us different, we don't pay attention to the things that we have in common. And it seems like we have to find the things in each other that are so different that we can't agree with. And because that one thing out of the 1,000 things that we agree on, if we don't agree with that one thing, fuck you. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, that makes me really concerned, because at the end of why do you think people I think about this. Why do you think people want to come here? Because if we're so terrible, why are people trekking hundreds, if not thousands of miles to get here? Like, there's people from China and Pakistan coming through the border. How did they get there? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There are people coming here because of the idea.
Right.
Right. We're not perfect. I don't think we've been practicers of what we wanted to do since July 5th, 1776. But we got to keep trying.
Yeah.
And when we're so focused on division, especially when the division, you said before, like follow the money, whatever, the division ends at political parties.
Exactly.
But I think
that's
for
the tip
me,
of the spear.
it's kind of just when people are unwilling to realize that other people get treated differently in situations. And
I agree with you.
And for me, that is the hardest thing, because like I remember I was telling, I don't know if when I got pulled over in Virginia, and I was in uniform.
Right.
I got pulled over.
But you're in like your naval uniform?
Yeah, I got pulled over all the time in Virginia because I had a new car and I had tinted windows.
And you got a lead foot.
Okay.
Okay, admit it.
She was gonna leave that part out of the story.
And
she was gonna leave the speeding part out of the story.
But I mean, all Virginians drive like sociopaths anyway.
honestly,
Do you, Dan?
But
Well, I'm not a Virginian.
But did you see that?
Yeah, they're all driving like assholes
Yeah.
around the Beltway and stuff.
Is that because it's DC?
I think it's because it's, I don't know.
I don't know.
Like
But
the DC area?
I got pulled over and I gave my license and stuff, my registration. My registration was registered to my ship, USS Abraham Lincoln. And he's looking at it and he's like, "Oh, do you live here?" And I was like, "Yes, like I live on a ship. Like that's
Literally
I live on
I'm
a
not
ship."
wearing this for fun.
And he threw
It's like Burger King uniform. You're like, you don't work at Burger King.
Like he threw my license at me and he was like, "I don't give a fuck that you're in the military, like you're in the Navy." And I remember I went to work the next day and I was like talking about it. And I worked with all white dudes and like one other black guy. And I called them the Klan. But they
Amber.
okay, they called me a porch monkey. I didn't even know what that was. I had to go ask somebody. But anyway,
I still don't know what that is.
so I was talking about it at work and they were like, "Well, you must have done something wrong." And I'm like, "No, because I get pulled over in Virginia all the time."
Right.
So I know I wasn't speeding specifically in that area
Right.
because I know that cops would sit there and they're like, "Oh, well, you must have done something." And I'm like, "No, I didn't do anything." Well, he must have had a reason to do that. And the biggest thing was like, "Well, I've never been treated like that by a police officer and I'm respectful. So like they wouldn't do that if you were," and I'm like, "Look at me right now. What part of me do you think is like going off on a cop or, whatever,
right.
or being disrespectful, and they could not wrap their head around the fact that this did happen to me for
Sure.
no reason. And that for me is kind of just like the biggest thing. It's like, you can't even put yourself in somebody else's shoes. There's another time me and the black guy and his brother and a white kid, we got pulled over, Virginia, same area, pulled over. We got asked to get out the car. We had to sit on a sidecar. Now there's like 3 cop cars there. They want to search our car. And the white kid's like, "Why are you going to let them search your car? You don't have to do that." Amber is not saying nothing. So go ahead. And they were searching my car.
But he is right.
And they're like,
don't search. They should never search your car. Yeah.
You can say that. I cannot.
Yeah.
And
I think you can. You don't think so? Maybe not there.
And so they're going through my car and they're like, "Well, why don't you have anything in your glove compartment?
Why don't you?
Yes. Why don't you have why is your car so clean?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean,
Why is my car so clean?
I like a clean car. I don't like a lot
I
of
just
stuff
got it for
in
briefs.
my-"
Why are you so mad at me?
What's that
Right.
supposed to mean?
And like they were looking for something and so mad, and then they just drove away. Nobody said anything. We were just still sitting on the side of the road. And like when we were going to work the next day and stuff, we didn't, like, me and the black guy didn't bring it up because we already knew. The white kid that was with us brought it
He
up.
was appalled.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I can't believe this happened, blah, blah, blah." But we knew how it was going to be received by the other people at work. And we didn't even want to like bring it up. And, and they're doing the whole, "Well, why you didn't have to let them search your car." And I'm like, "Okay, I understand that. But in that situation, I'm not trying to have guns drawn on me for like, for no reason when I know that I didn't have anything." And, and it was just so frustrating because it was like, you literally think that because I got pulled over, I must have been disrespectful or given an attitude or ghetto or, doing all this stuff. And it's like, no, I wasn't. I just was getting pulled over for driving while black. And I don't understand why you can't acknowledge that. And
Is that like a certain section or
and
like
you're actually
of road?
looking at me telling me that I'm wrong. No, it was in Virginia Beach, and I actually stopped completely going to Virginia Beach.
Yeah, that's why Dan and
which
I
really made me sad.
So when we were young, man, we would, after a certain hour, you don't drive after having a couple drinks at certain places. Other places don't look. It seems like I've just
I live in
noticed.
Philadelphia. I don't drink a sip of a beer and drive.
Wow, this is
They're corrupt.
We were younger.
It's the country.
Yeah. Their cops don't really need the tax.
no, our cops are nuts.
The revenue. But I mean, places like that, like they just want it. So police officers are good people. The majority of them are good people. But at the end of the day, their job is to generate revenue. Mm-hmm. So like I think a lot of the times it boils down to that person's just an asshole. And I can't let assholes live rent free in my head because I know that I'm not living in theirs. They're just going to be an asshole and continue through life. And I'm like, if I see it all the time, especially like being involved in politics, a lot of people will hear a thing and it's like the hamster wheel goes and they get stuck on it. And they're like, no, this person is a piece of shit. And I'm like, yeah, I agree with you. They're a piece of shit. But why are you thinking about it? Like, life is like this finite thing, where it's like, it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's like when the lights are going to go out, you don't know what's going to happen. Right. So to let assholes affect you.
But I think sometimes
and I agree,
it
they're
really
pieces
just
of shit down
depends.
There
Like I said, I came from up here and then went into the Navy.
Did you grow up in
Gouldsboro? But after I left Jersey. And so when you're surrounded by assholes all the time and people they completely just beating you down, and it's hard to ignore it. I agree. Sometimes it really is. And when you're in an environment where you can get up out of it, then but it's like when you're surrounded by that and you're hearing these things all the time, I got told, people are going to think you're stupid and lazy because you're black. That's an asshole. When I first got there. Actually, I ended up dating him, but
Amber,
because he was telling me that.
I hope you didn't clean up after him.
No, he was telling me that. He was saying, this is what people are going to think about you.
Why?
And because he wanted to warn me, and I saw it. I saw it, and I was really happy that he said that to me, because then, of course, made me just want to work really hard and prove everybody wrong and be a badass. But, he was telling me that there's a lot of assumptions that are going to be made about you, because of what you look like here.
And we were talking about this today earlier. And I'm like, okay, Amber, don't think that I'm trying to equate a stereotype with experiencing racism. But she was sharing about different experiences she's had with face-to-face racism, and how some people will say you're turning it into something it's not, or you're whatever. And I'm like, but I think we all to some degree have to be able to understand and empathize, or maybe we don't all, maybe it's just me, but I know, okay, so this is how I was comparing it. I'm like, I'm a thicker person. I'm a larger American. And there are so many things that have been said to me, doctors, whoever, whatever, that I'm not walking in thinking anything about my weight.
Right. Dude, I told you, I forgot I'm black.
I'm not walking in.
You just reminded me.
To be honest, I eat super clean. I actually really like myself.
Chelsea eats way better than I could ever eat.
When I walk in and somebody makes a comment and I'm kind of like, wait, what? And then I realize you're saying that because I'm fat.
Oh, I'm fat. That's right.
And and I've had people say I think you're just really insecure. And I'm like, but I'm actually not. I'm not insecure.
No.
I'm super healthy. The only time I'm going to be insecure is if somebody tells me my cholesterol's bad and whatever. I'm like, no, if you look at my diet, if you look at whatever, my levels are incredible. So all that to say, where I can see,
you'll walk into a room, or somebody will say something, or they'll look at you a certain way, or do something, or you're
That's
not
an
treated.
Energy you can feel, right?
Exactly.
They make a comment. My daughter, you saw my daughter, right?
Yeah, she's pretty.
Well, she's also not. She is 100%.
She's got beautiful blue eyes.
They're my husband's. She is 100% down the line of what do you call it? Weight to height ratio, whatever the case is.
She's where she's supposed to be.
100%, 50.
Yeah.
Except for her head size, but she also gets that from her dad.
I love it. Paper, no, move.
But it was a really good Scottish accent.
I watched So I Married an Axe Murderer. Is that what that's from? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Paper down.
But they
Sputnik. Spherical, but pointy at parts.
And my daughter's in 6 sports. She is a go-getter. She is if you hold her, she is pure muscle.
Yeah.
But I'm taking her to a doctor's appointment, and the doctor's so concerned.
No, she's healthy and awesome.
He's like, well, I mean, she's in 50%. I'm like, isn't that good? Where's she supposed to be? And he's like, well, and the more we went over it, and he's like, well, what's her diet again? I was like, she eats really well. She eats this. She doesn't even like fried food. And then I'm like, oh, it's because I'm fat,
big,
and I'm with.
so-
So anyway, all that, but like
He thinks
yeah, like it's contagious. She's gonna catch it. So,
head.
but then, so like I feel like that's helped me because I can look at a situation and be like, Amber, I think you might have like taken that out of context. But then I'm reminded of moments where I'm like, no, I know. Like it took me a minute, but I know what they were saying, and I know why they were saying it, and I know that they wouldn't say it to Amber because she's not fat. Like same thing, like where she's like, I know, like you probably don't understand it because you're not, and maybe in some cases it wasn't racist, but when it's racist 6 times out of 10, it's hard to then be like, oh, he was just being a douchebag. You know what I mean?
I think most people don't know. Like I think like so when I grew up, right? So I'm a little bit. Who's the oldest one here between you two?
I'm 3.5 months older.
So I'm 43.
I'm 37.
Okay. So I'm 43. And Dan, do you remember this? Like your grandparents and their friends would be like, "Oh, we got to get him the husky pants."
Oh yeah. So me and Mark have discussed this before. That we were the husky boys
Not
growing
the husky
up.
face.
Yeah. Oh, you got to get him some huskies. Like that's what they, and I'll tell you what, man. I the biggest waist I've had was like a 40, right? And then over the last 3 years, I'm like, who came up with breakfast? Like, why do we have to eat 3 times a day?
And why do we think we have to eat breakfast?
Right. So then I heard about like this intermittent fasting stuff.
Bro, we're on the same page. Me too.
So it's like, eat when you're hungry. It's like, I was telling somebody, they're like, how do you do intermittent fasting? I said, how do you not regiment your poops? Like, you poop when you have to poop.
Yeah.
You eat when you're hungry. It's
Imagine
really
that.
simple.
Yeah.
It's really simple.
Yeah.
And like a couple nuts and grains during the day or whatever fruits that you want to have. And just like, I kind of eat like I'm on death row sometimes at night at like 7:00 for my first meal. I'm like, all right, we should get everything on the menu
Right now.
But I think, look, there are many people, maybe not some people. There are many people who are incredibly ignorant people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't blame them because they don't know what they don't know, right? Like.
And I think so. For me, I
can't be mad at them. Like it's like they don't know. It's like me being mad at your daughter for not knowing Latin. You know what I mean?
And that's how I felt up here. There was so many people who were ignorant because they just didn't know any black people. You know, I dated a guy and his mom was like, well, what do I cook her for dinner? And I don't take that as
fried chicken. That's the only thing that you make. What is that, the Chappelle thing?
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't take that as racist. I didn't take that as bad because I was like, she doesn't know. Like she's never spoken to. Like she's never had a black person in her house. There is 100% a difference between ignorance and racism. Hate. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. There definitely is. And I think sometimes people aren't empathetic to people's ignorance. And I kind of feel like I'm a good bridge because I grew up here. So I grew up around people who I'm like, they just don't know. Like, and if you tell them and now they continue that and do whatever, like that's, you know.
Well, and culturally, I feel like it's even because she'll tell me things that, and like I live 20 minutes outside of Center City, Philadelphia. I grew up in a very diverse area in New Jersey. So I remember like wishing I was black and wishing I was Puerto Rican because I'm like, they're beautiful. White people are, what are we? Like, there's all this stuff. And then can I
put a pin in that real quick? Do you know what one of my favorite shows growing up was? Do you remember the show Benson? Did you ever hear that show?
Yes.
Robert Guillaume.
No.
I never watched it. I don't think it was on TV.
I was 4 years old. That was my favorite show on television was Benson. He was like the butler to like, I'm like, this is my favorite show.
Benson.
So I just wanted to, So okay, keep going.
But oh shoot, I don't remember what I was talking about.
This is what happens. I do this.
But that's like, so she'll tell me things and I'm like, because where I live is very diverse and there's every kind of people. Nobody gives a frick as long as you're not driving and cutting them off or like making them late or walking too slow in front of them down the street.
Sure.
Nobody, you could be talking about, call me this, use my pronoun, I'm black, I'm poor. Nobody gives it, just get out of my way.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid.
I think most Americans are like that.
But then she'll tell me things and I'm like, I don't, and like, who is still thinking like that? And I think like too, like the areas, I think it matters where you live in the area too, where it's like, I just don't, nobody here is saying that bigoted type of stuff. And like too, you were sharing different things about churches. I'm like, I don't go to a church. It's like, you're going to hell if you don't agree with that. Like, I'm like, what church is doing that? What people are saying
Rockford
this?
Masters Commission and King's Academy.
No one should be. Look,
they weren't telling you that because you weren't gay.
Here's
but I also wasn't popular. I wasn't like a little Abercrombie
Girl, you know I was in
person.
trouble all the time.
All the time.
So I started to think about these things, right? I'm like, why do people, because I've always been like, even Dan knows I used to drink a lot, right?
A lot.
Define it. No, just kidding.
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
But it was all like this social lubricant. It was like courage. And so it was like, and it was false courage, because at the end of the day, it was like, I have no problems except for the glass. Like, that's it, the drink I'm drinking. And it never manifested itself into any truth or anything like that. I've found that like I could read a room. So the important thing is like, don't listen to what people say. Watch them while they're listening. It's really bizarre. So like in what we do, like sometimes when we do these podcasts, like I like to go back and watch just how the person is reacting, not what they're saying, how they're taking in information, because you can really tell a lot about a person just watching how they listen.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, there's two things. I think a lot of people today would rather win an argument than solve a problem.
Period.
Yeah.
And I think the other biggest problem, and it's being perpetuated for the last 35 years, and we never paid attention to it, was the influx of fear. Be afraid of these things. And what is fear? What is fear? Fear leads to, it's all Yoda shit. Fear leads to hate, right? So why do you hate a certain thing or group or whatever? It's because, well, I'm afraid. At the end of the day, that's what it is. They're afraid of something. So what are you afraid of? Maybe when they grew up, they were told things that weren't true.
Right.
Because of the fear of the parents, right? And that I look at as like a generational trauma, right? So you can't be open or willing to listen to other people's points of view, culture, stuff like that. And I think that is an ignorance. I think the hatred of that comes from fear. It all boils down to fear. Every one of our problems in this world is all fear-based. The thing that like, I have like this diverse group of people that I hang out with, and Dan will attest to it. It's like really, really wealthy, successful people all the way down. Like I'll talk to the guy at Sheetz who I'm like, man, you're talking to the ghosts in your head too. You know what I mean? Like, because what happened? Where did that go wrong?
Right.
Like, how were they raised? What was mom and dad like? What was the sisters like? Was there any abuse? Was there not abuse? Was there, you know what I mean? And I think that like, I don't care like now, and this is something I've learned before, because then I'm trying to like phrase this right. Basically, the way that I look at everybody is rip all your flesh off. Do you ever see Hellraiser?
No.
You've seen Hellraiser. You're like a horror buff,
yeah.
right? So like, did you see the first Hellraiser?
Yes.
Okay, remember when he's in the attic like forming?
Yeah.
Before he gets his skin?
And he's super gross. And she was like touching him.
It was a
like,
terrifying movie. When I was a kid, that was that Hellraiser and Hellraiser 2 were terrifying.
Isn't Hellraiser 2 that gives the guys the razor blades and he like carves all
and
his
they go to hell
off and yeah,
it's terrible. So
fun times.
But I was like, if you ripped everyone's skin off, as disgusting as that seems,
rip me out the plaque that I've been acting brand new.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. So I think that's how we need to like, because then what you're going to see is, man, there are a lot of people who are really amazing people that maybe you didn't think were amazing, and probably people who are really shitty that you really didn't think were shitty, because now what you're doing is you're basing it off of what they say and how they behave.
Right.
Right. So I try to like listen to people like you. I don't know I think I've talked to you about this. Like I hated Donald Trump. Hated him. Right. I believed all the crazy shit. And when I started to like, Charlottesville was a big one for me. Right. So in COVID, I went back and I started asking myself these questions. Why do I hate who I hate? Right. Or why do I dislike who I dislike? You know, because like my grandfather was a conservative. He's one of the best guys I've ever known in my life. My dad's a conservative. He's one of the best guys I've ever known in my life. So I was like, but why do all these people like this guy? Like I didn't get it. And I went back and I watched Charlottesville. And remember we said good people on both sides? Like, remember when they were doing the protests and somebody,
I remember.
Okay, so okay, just making sure that you remember that. And I'm like, I got to listen to that whole press conference. I want to hear like the whole thing, not just the soundbite that I was spoon fed or told to think about. And 90 seconds before he said good people on both sides, he goes, I do not condone or whatever white supremacy in any shape or form. And then 90 seconds after he said it, he goes, I do not condone or accept white supremacy in all shapes and forms. So I was like, okay, there's two vastly different things that I'm being told about this situation. What else am I being told? that isn't true. So I started to watch, and then people, not the soundbite. I want to watch the whole thing. So if they say something happened at a Senate testimony or a representative or somebody's testifying.
Well, and you find that people don't even watch, like people that liked Trump. I would read them a lot because I couldn't with him and the hair and the skin. But if you I would read his speeches. And one of the things I liked about him was that he cussed all the time. And I was just here for it. And I'll never forget, I was on Facebook and people were mad at Rashida Tlaib because she said the F word. And they're like, they're going on about it. And I was like, dude, Trump cusses all the time. It's literally the one thing I like about, and they're like, he never did. And I'm like, how can you say you like this man, but you don't actually know anything about him or listen to what he said?
Because we're having conversations
or whatever.
We're having conversations in a fictional universe called Facebook. It's not real.
Because I don't like sound bites either. And so I would then normally read the transcript or go back and watch the speeches.
You gotta get back on Twitter, I'm telling you.
Stuff. But it, for me, because I was like, I want to know what he says. And if I don't agree with it, that I know what he said though, and I can go there from that. And because people would ask me and they're like, well, what don't you like about him? And I was like, I can give you actual policy that I don't like, things that I don't like that have nothing to do with and a lot of times I would ask people, well, what do you like about? Oh, I like the way he tells it like it is. Okay, well, that's not actually a thing, or they'd be like, oh, I like how he owns the libs. Again, that's not a thing. Libs are also part of the country.
You know what that is? That's like a rap battle.
Right.
It's like that doesn't qualify you to do anything.
Right. And in that moment, I really was like, okay, this is a level that we're dealing with people, and that's what I mean when I say research. It's not always super in depth, but it's go look at the man's speeches and look at what he said and then get back to me. But obviously you've never done that because you're over here arguing about people being un-American because they're cussing. And I'm like, this.
Yeah, but that's politics. That's the shit that they do where it's when, Trump was, and look, I'm not even defending the guy, but I'm also not vilifying the guy. I don't think, here's the best way for me to explain it. I said it to somebody who hated Trump. I said, I don't think he's the best president we've ever had, and I don't think he's the worst. Words are words. And we're living in this world now where we all want to deny it, but we're living in this world where Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all these things, the way those things are successful is engagement. So the crazier shit that you say, you will get more attention. And we're all living in the downstream poop of the people at the top doing it. And it's we're never going to I think we can all sit around here and agree that whoever's running stuff, we don't have faith in, right? It doesn't matter what party it is. We're just you guys just screw us all the time. I read an interesting statistic the other day.
And y'all are so old.
There's young, even the young ones are psychos. It's they're all once they get down, once they get to a place of power, they just end up either willfully or unwillfully being corrupted in some way.
Well, and I think it's the control that whoever's in charge has, and it's the money. And it's crazy to me what people will do for money. And I think it's crazy when people are still crazier. Even still, when people are ready to throw in whatever it takes to be for this person, I'm like, that person doesn't care about you.
No.
That person said this message for that party because they got more endorsements. They got more endorsements because they're going to put more policy in that will affect them in a better way.
Right.
They don't care about you.
I have a buddy who is deeply entrenched in national politics. And he goes, I've been to Democrat conventions, Republican conventions. It's all the same sponsors. He's like, nothing changes. It's like
I went to the Republican National Convention in Philly.
I would never.
I had a little.
I'd go just to see
George Bush, he had these American flag cowboy hats. Ridiculous. Okay, I had mine for years, but I
hope you didn't get rid of it.
I don't know where it is
I'd
now.
wear that.
I was so mad because at one point I really was trying to find it. But I think it's important to be in spaces that maybe you don't agree with, or maybe you don't, whatever, and just see these things. Like I went, and I'm not a Republican now, but if I had the opportunity to go to a Republican national, I would go.
I went. This is my favorite. Do you guys want to watch something funny?
Yeah.
Do you like to laugh?
Have
you seen this? This is called an honest political ads.
Yeah.
All right, watch this.
Is it like the honest trailers?
No.
Oh,
You're gonna love it.
This might be loud because we didn't test it out earlier. But
to do the volume halfway on the computer.
all right.
I'm Gil Fulbright. The people who run my campaign, they've made this commercial, and I'm in it.
Oh,
This
no.
campaign.
Oh damn! What'd you do?
is not
Pause.
about me.
Spacebar.
We lost everything.
Yep. Rewind. We got to watch it from the beginning. I'm sorry.
Welcome to Dan as the producer.
Yep.
his suit.
Just wait for it, Amber.
All right.
What do you got to like refresh?
Hi,
you
I'm
go.
Gil Fulbright. The people who run my campaign, they've made this commercial, and I'm in it. This campaign, it's not about me. It's about crafting a version of me that'll appeal to you. A version that visits random work sites with paid actors pointing at things. A version of me that doesn't find old people loathsome or pointless. Has a conventionally attractive yet curiously still family.
What?
Listening to my constituents, legislating, these are things I don't do. What I do is spend about 70% of my time raising funds for re-election. I'd do anything to stay in office. My name's Gil Fulbright, but hell, I'll change my name to Phil Goldbright or Bill Fulbright or fill up my mouth with farts. These are the things that are important to me. And these are the fine people that finance my campaign. Now, in order to do these things, I have to stay in office. And to stay in office, I have to keep these guys happy.
It's ridiculous.
Now, if any of these things make these guys unhappy, well, my hands are tied. So come November, the choice is clear. Do you want another spineless mouthpiece for special interest and lobbyists? Or a spineless mouthpiece for special interest and lobbyists? I'm fill up my mouth with farts, and I approve this message.
I've been in a lot of political ads.
Fill up my mouth with farts is I would vote for
Oh,
him
look at the, like,
every
Obama.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so we stopped getting rid of comedy. We stopped getting rid of criticisms of these people in power. Like back in the day, the court jester was the only one who was allowed to talk truth to power.
Yeah.
And we made comedians so they can't criticize or else they get canceled. We made like all these things happen. And it's like, why? We all knew that, like, just let them talk. You know,
Well,
if you don't like it, change the channel or turn them off.
And the cancel culture isn't working for people because it's like
There's going to be a big backlash on all of
well,
this.
the people will cancel, but then the person that they support does something, and then we just like sweep it under the rug and act like it didn't happen. And we're like, wait a minute.
In what degree? What do you mean?
Well, like, okay, so remember, for one example, remember Trump with the whole pussy grabbing thing?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like,
How can I forget it?
how could anybody forget it? Especially if you have one. It's
Okay,
a nightmare.
I feel bad that Billy Bush like got his whole career went down,
Okay.
and I was like,
I'm not defending the man. But if you go back and listen to like what he said was he's like, when you're rich,
yeah,
they'll let you do anything. You
yeah.
can even if you want, you can grab him by the right. And in that moment, what he was illustrating is like, I lived in LA, right? You've been to LA.
Yeah.
You've seen those women.
Yeah.
You know those women who will do that.
Right. But what I'm saying is like, so Trump did that, right? And there was like outrage and everyone was like, how could you be a woman and like Trump? But then, you know, like there was like all this like cancel for that.
Because they wanted to get rid of him so bad.
But then there was also, what about Biden's granddaughter saying,
no, he doesn't have he only has 6 grandkids.
not 7.
Yeah,
Not
there's
one in
only 6.
Nashville who
No.
has a little blonde ponytail. Yeah. No, but the one who was saying like, literally saying like, inappropriate touching, inappropriate showering. I feel so uncomfortable. What happened? Biden's not canceled. That's okay. That's
No,
acceptable.
That wasn't his granddaughter. That was his daughter. That was Ashley.
His daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that, but like, it's,
I don't like
what
hypocrisy.
but that's what I'm
Right.
saying. So what I'm saying is neither comment, neither situation is acceptable in any way, shape, or
That's
form.
what I'm saying.
But we're canceling him, but we're not like it's okay that Biden did it
So
because
that's-
he's a Democrat.
Okay, so that's called selective outrage.
Yeah.
Right, which
well,
means-
it's BS is what it is.
Well, it's to do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like if we do it,
Oh, and then
we don't want you to know.
how many racist comments Biden's made his entire political career, but Trump's racist. So it's like, but again, I'm not for either one of them. I'm just saying it's interesting how it's like this is not okay because you're on this
let's
side
look
of
at
the
like we're
fence.
comparing comic book characters. Okay, as far as I can see, the one comic book character gets away with a lot, and the other comic book character doesn't. And every move that they make is destruction.
Well, yeah, it's which party is the most popular, which narrative is the most popular.
I don't even think there's a Republican Party anymore.
Oh God!
Look.
I don't either, and that makes
the Democrat Party. I don't know what happened to it,
and that makes me really sad because it's like, as I said, I used to be a Republican, and I feel like there isn't one, but you
don't have to be in either one of them.
No, I don't know, and I think that's good if you're not, and I think we need more, and the whole system is a disaster.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that we're an open primary and everyone can vote.
Oh my God, unlike Pennsylvania, but
they won't do it. Why don't you think they'll do it? Honestly, like if we I think there's 24 states that have open primaries, right? Why would Pennsylvania not be one? It's not because we don't want it.
No, everybody wants it.
Right. So the people in charge won't let it happen.
Because more people would vote if they could. Because
they'll lose. It's not that. They're going to lose their power.
No, for real. Because the thing is like what I've had to do is I've changed my registration before so that I could vote for somebody that I wanted to vote for. And then changed it back.
Because the primaries are bullshit.
And the thing is like, yes, I'm doing that. Okay. But I be doing a lot.
Well, can I curse on your podcast, by the way? I did before.
I was cussing the whole time. But who else is, you know what I mean? Like everyday working people who aren't necessarily super engaged in politics like I am, like who is going to go out of their way to like, oh, let me go change my party before the primary so that I can vote for this person. And then let me make sure I change it back before. And like, and it's ridiculous. No, you shouldn't have to do it. And it's so complicated and stupid. And I definitely think that it also lets in people who aren't who the people like. You know, I think it lets in the little people and it gives people a lot more of a chance when you can just vote for whoever. And it's like the one guy, John Howe.
I like John Howe.
I do too. He's going to be on our podcast.
He told me today. I was with him today.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
And he is. And
I'll tell you what, man, that dude overcame a lot.
Dude, and we had some great conversations, but he is an independent, right?
Yes and no.
That's exactly same.
Right. Yeah, and the thing is that sucks about
why are we putting him in a t-shirt?
No.
Like we shouldn't.
But what sucks about it though is then you have to kind of calculate what you're going to do, what side you're going to be on because everybody can't just vote for you.
Well, here's the thing. Like I'm running for school board, right? The only reason, there's two reasons I ran. The one reason I ran was because no one else would step up and do it, which was terribly frustrating.
I tried.
Right. Number two, well, if I win, help me out. Number two is, oh shit, I forgot why.
Because you want to be the change you want to see?
No.
You're an egomaniac.
Yes. I had it good too. I should have wrote it down. Forget me. So I won on the Republican side. So one of the reasons why I ran was because I could cross file. So I can run on both tickets, right? Which means like I don't have to pick a side.
And that's one of the things I was telling Chelsea about and why we wanted to talk to you. Because I was like, oh, he's cross filing. He's going to go on both sides. And she's like, oh, I didn't even know that was like.
You could do that.
You could do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And as a matter of fact, it's like, why is school board political?
Well, that's.
Why should it be D or R?
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Where it's like we should all be there. There should be no agenda. The agenda should be the reading, writing, arithmetic, and critical thinking, like and art, music. Those are my big five. It should never be like, because the thing is like now. So I win as a Republican, right? Which now means that like there's a whole political group that thinks I'm a psycho.
Yeah.
Automatically.
And then there's a whole political group who thinks you're just going to do everything that like they want you to do.
Yeah, which ain't going to happen. Right. It's a job that pays no money. Like,
first of all,
there's no influence that form. Like, my mom was an educator. I know the terrible things. Like, there's more amazing things that happen in public school than there are negative things. But the negative things are very, very bright lights that we need to really pay attention to, like moths to a flame.
Yeah. I'm telling you right now, like when they went to virtual school and didn't make sure everyone had a laptop, and I had to jump through so many hoops to like even find out. And then finally I'm talking to like one of the principals and he's like, yeah, well, we have 10,000 kids, but we only ordered 8,000 because some of the kids have laptops. What is wrong with you? Like, what is
you're going to disagree with me on this.
And it just made me so mad.
You're going to highly disagree with me. I don't think they should have shut the schools down at all.
No, I didn't want them to. My daughter stayed in school. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
My daughter was going to
But they shouldn't.
Discovery Montessori, and she stayed in school the whole time.
Another reason why they shouldn't shut them down is because all these kids don't need Chromebooks. You know, they should have stayed in school. You know, and then come to find out 3 years later, it's like, oh, the crazies were right. The crazies were like, hey, this isn't affecting kids.
I was a psychopath from the start with all that. Speaking of biggest funders, Big Pharma. Whatever they say.
Oh, do they own farms? I don't know. Who is that?
Bro.
But Big Pharma?
Does it start with an F or a PH? Like Pretty Hot and Tempting Pharma? Or like
literally just said that. Pretty Hot and Tempting. No, but
it's really funny because people think that.
Thanks for laughing with me, Dan.
I like that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
People think I would have been on the side of shutting schools down, which is hilarious. Obviously, because I'm a liberal and they're like, oh, you know, and I was like, no, my daughter, she had to stay in school because I had to work.
Yeah, but just the fact that you disagree with that.
Yeah,
right,
I thought it was stupid.
Should not put you, but should not make me presume that you should be in a certain political party. Like there's
right,
just right there alone is like, oh, there's common ground here.
Right.
Well, yeah,
we could have a conversation about
when
this.
we were talking about how I'm like, I am 100% with the idea and the principle that Black Lives Matter. The group, I'm a little like what people were.
I would have been okay with it if they gave a nickel.
But people were calling me
neighborhoods.
But people were calling me racist. I was like, first of all, I'm going to let that go
because I honestly, because when you said that, it like hurt my soul.
What'd you say?
It like when the first
I said
time
that Black Lives Matter, period. But like the group that was doing all the stuff, I'm like, I'm not.
It hurt
with
my soul because I was like, number one, why is it now y'all want to focus on some nonprofit organization where their money's going? Because we can focus on a whole lot of people.
I don't. And then, I focus on a lot of different
it was like, but a lot of people didn't. And I was like, no, it was not just for us. It wasn't a central organization. And I think that I feel like white people in their head really have that. And black people, it was a hashtag. It was a movement. I went to marches. I say Black Lives Matter.
Maybe you should have a different name then.
I never, ever gave to the organization. I never believed it. Most people didn't even know there was like one head.
I was like hashtag Black Lives Matter, like with Breonna Taylor when I found out about her story.
But then it's like, oh, well, the organization. And I'm like, okay,
well, then, but somebody was like, do you know about the organization? I was like, what organization? And then I looked into it. I was like, I don't. I approve Black Lives Matter. I'm not with your organization. But like, that's what I'm saying though. You say one thing and then it's like, you're racist. You hate black, or like you think that schools should be shut down. Well, then you're liberal. Like,
right.
You can't just.
So maybe here's the problem with Black Lives Matter, right? Is I'd have no problem with them if they gave the money to the causes that they were talking about.
They bought themselves houses.
That's insane.
It is really,
you know what I mean? And here's the other thing.
Especially like, because people were trying to give to really make a difference.
It makes it so sad. And honestly,
do you know where your money's going?
I did, because I donate to local organizations. Not what I would tell people all the time.
I encourage that
because I had a lot of white people come to me and ask me, where should I donate? What? And I was like, local organizations right here that help people of color. That's what you can do. Donate to them. Like you,
but they didn't help. The problem is like, to your point, like I said before, I don't like hypocrites. We all agree on that, right?
I think we all do.
They sullied the movement.
Yeah.
Which was such an important movement.
They poisoned it.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I was like, no, like but like you can't even say anything without being thrown into this category.
But I think the issue is though, because when you say that, a lot of people don't know about the organization. And I think that when people are like, when you were saying it, I think you were saying it like,
that's a presumption.
No,
we don't know.
No, yeah. But well, I will say though, the people that I was around and marching with and doing everything, like
they're of a certain ideology.
Yes, but nobody was talking about the big organization. Nobody was talking about like that.
See, I might be different because I thought that they were like intertwined.
I
think you can think of an idea as like the idea, the concept that black people, their lives matter. Yeah, 100%. They sure do. And it's not being reflected in like police brutality. And where's all this coming from? But then like the organization that's like asking for money and like using it correctly.
That's all I saw in the news where it's like, give. Oh, and we forgot one other thing is if we go back to the summer of 2020, there was people who were very skeptical of what was going on in the country. And you have to admit, like, we all talk about
I was skeptical. I was hardcore. Everyone thought I was insane.
We all talk about these things in 2023 like they didn't happen. They're like, oh, it was a blip on the radar.
We were all on vacation.
Yeah, we were like, was it the Family Guy? Well, so what happened in Germany in the 30s? We were all on vacation. I don't think that we can have constructive conversations in 2023 and try to act like that didn't happen. It's like trying to fix your marriage and not acknowledging the infidelity.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. At that time, we Americans were told that COVID will kill you. Mm-hmm. Wear your mask everywhere you're going. Don't see your grandparents who are dying. Don't go to funerals. Don't scare the shit out of your kids, all this stuff. But if you're for Black Lives Matter, you can go wherever you want to go and do whatever you want to do. And that there was a lot of people in this country who were like, that doesn't bode well for me, that I have to now, because they look at it as, this. If you're telling one group of people they can't do anything, and you're telling one group of people that they can go, protest and riot and whatever, and we have to admit that there were riots. It was not the summer of love. The fact that no one sat back and went like, hey, we're going to have people pissed off at each other that don't need to be pissed off at each other, which is the group who's like, I think all this COVID stuff is bullshit.
And I totally agree with that.
But but why? So my questions are like, why run with it? Why keep pushing this? Why keep moving this without? And anybody who goes like, hey, all this is happening in Philadelphia and Scranton and Houston and LA and whatever, and everyone else is told like to stay home, and I can't see my grandmother who's sick in the hospital. Why is this okay?
When I was struggling with the organization, I wasn't even thinking of that. I was like, I don't understand why I can't be like, wow, like I am 100% for this idea and this concept. I just like the actual like nonprofit org, I'm not for because of some of the shady stuff and like the people involved.
Well, most of the NGO world is like
then
that.
It was like,
and that was what pissed me off about it, because I literally, like, I remember with the earthquake in Haiti, and I donated to the Red Cross, and then I found out those bitches give like 1% to whatever.
Yes. Was that the Wyclef concert?
And
was it?
Yeah. Well, didn't Wyclef like put on a show and they raised like a fuck ton of money?
And here's
1%, bitches.
Right. And I was pissed. And so for me, I felt like it was nitpicky, and I felt like, and this is my opinion, this could be wrong. I felt like it was nitpicky.
Yeah, but it's okay to be wrong.
I know. And I felt like it was, let's look at this Black organization. And I felt like, why aren't we looking at everything else? And why right now are we nitpicking that, especially when a lot of people didn't know that there was even like a whole organization.
I just think it sucks to be able to be like, to not be able to have the space to be like if you're telling me that Black lives don't matter, then yeah, you don't get any say. You don't get any right. You have no.
Wait, you gotta be careful there, because if you don't have any right, that's actually not true.
Oh no, I know freedom of speech. I'm just saying, for me personally, I'm not listening to you.
Absolutely,
period.
You have your own moral barometer.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like for me, we're not having any further conversation, and we're definitely not sitting at the same table. But then like to then be like, well, you're nitpicking at no, I 100% support the idea that Black Lives Matter. I don't support this organization.
But like so not for you particularly, but then to me, it's like, well, what other organization have you also nitpicked? What other organization have you also posted about?
Well, I actually like, there's a lot of organizations, and my husband actually taught me this, because I was like, a bleeding heart. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like a lot of human trafficking situations. I'm like, oh my gosh.
How about that being real?
And then my husband being like, you have to really watch, because what you guys were just talking about, the United Way. He's like, I looked it up. I'm giving from his paycheck. He's like, I'm giving $2,100 a year to United Way. And then he looked it up and he's like,
yeah,
the CEO just took a $1.2 million bonus. Not pay that's just his bonus. So he's looking at that and he's like, so you know what? For that reason, I'm giving $2,000 to a local organization that like is actually going to benefit. So that's something he was like, you need to look at what the CEOs and whatever of these organizations you want to give money to.
But I feel like I didn't see that. I didn't see anyone posting about those other things. And
is it possible that in the is it possible that in like the algorithm?
No, because I'll go to your page and I want to go look.
So you saw it as they weren't supporting it, and you couldn't find anything, so that you couldn't find anything else that they supported?
No, it was more they weren't supporting it and calling it, well, I'm just, questioning it because it's not a good
Is
organization.
everyone expected to support it?
No. And you don't have to, but it's like, don't then say, oh, well, I don't agree with other organizations too. And then I'm like, okay, let me go look. Let me go look what you're posting about. Let me go look what you've said in the past.
Could it also be that was like a big, it was on every channel. It was on all this.
And I do agree with that, but being Black in America is literally so tiring and exhausting every single day that I quit my job as human resource director because of racism. I got racist voicemails, hate messages directed toward me. I had people throw stuff
from
at
employees.
Me. Yeah, I had people disrespect me.
Employees sent you racist stuff.
I had actually
like comments.
You want to hear it?
Is it a voice?
Yeah.
Wait. Is this an easily identified, or do we have to put like the pitch filter on? Wrong. So yesterday I was at the McDonald's and I saw a fight.
And so it just really felt like people were nitpicking this one organization and then saying like, oh, well, I do it for everything.
Well, so let me ask you a question. If we know today, if we knew then what we knew today, would those people be accurate?
Yes and no, because I think that a lot of people assumed that everybody was tied to the big organization. And
so you're thinking it's more, so, okay. So
because it started as a hashtag. So a lot of people were using the hashtag and a lot of people were,
I use the hashtag.
And so like people had shirts, like local organizations made shirts and whatever. And it's like, oh, well.
Why do these things always become big merchandising opportunities?
That's where the money's made.
Because capital, yeah.
I mean, I'm a total conspiracy on this. It's like, it's all bullshit and it's all to make money. Is to make people rich and they exploit things.
Yeah. But I also think there's a further division.
Well, and I also think too, there was a lot of sensitivity in that time that I was able to kind of be like, I know I'm not racist, and if you think I'm not racist, but I think
a lot of that happened over George Floyd, and I don't think a lot of people have seen But
I think there was a lot of sensitivity, which of course, this is something to be sensitive about. This is really genuinely crazy that this is happening right now in our country. So I know for myself, I was able to be like, okay, like I know what I meant. I know what I said. I know that I'm the farthest thing from racist. So if you want to think that I'm racist because I don't support the organization, but I'm also...
Is that offensive to you?
What?
If somebody calls you that?
Calls me racist?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's extremely offensive.
No, what's offensive is when you call somebody racist for doing blatantly racist stuff and they say, you're racist for calling me racist.
Well, that's back to asshole.
Somebody just explain to me how that makes sense, though.
But do you think...
Wait, I got it. Here we go.
Oh, I hope this doesn't get us in trouble. You can hold it right up to it.
Wait, why would it get you in trouble?
Because I don't...
Fuck you! Fuck you! Who do you think I'm fucking playing with, motherfucker? I will fucking pull on you, motherfucker! I'll see your ass! I will see your ass! You're a punk-ass bitch! You're a nigger cocksucker! I'm making my bitch! You motherfucker! You motherfucker! You fucking faggot! You nigger! You nigger! Fucking come at me! You threaten me! You fucking threaten me! You threaten me! You come out and with me! You're not in the fucking way! You have no clue! I'll deal with you, man! Or you will be dealt with! You will be dealt with!
So it wasn't.
Was there somebody else in the background, though? Did I hear somebody else in the background?
Like it. There wasn't just one message. Like one was.
Were they consecutive?
Yes. So
it sounds like this dude's in a fight.
So one happened.
It sounds like this dude's
No, but it was separate
big.
days. Like, so one
With the
message.
same anger?
Yes. One
What the
message
fuck?
happened. I didn't hear that one because one of the ladies in office just deleted it. And then this message came in.
I also don't think we can figure out whose voice
day-
that is through the anger.
No.
And
Okay, I feel
then
all right about it.
there was another message. So
With the same tone and words?
I kind of wish we could figure out who. I mean, if you want to be loud about it, let's be loud about it.
That's, you know what that sounds like? Mental illness.
Well, yeah.
It sounds like that whoever that person is has lived a traumatized life. You know what I mean?
But for me, it's like, how, if I'm working here, how are you going to protect me? You know, what are you going to do to try to
Concealed carry.
in City Hall?
They do it in Texas, don't they?
You can't hear.
I think that's just Texas.
Oh, yeah, it might be
God
Florida
bless
now.
Texas.
It's always bigger. I always thought that like when I traveled, I crossed the border, did I get bigger? I don't know. It's a Texas thing. Nobody should.
Oh, I get
anybody who behaves that way should not be.
Living among society.
No, because you're never going to get rid of them.
I think they need mental help. To be honest.
Well, that's a big part of the world that we're neglecting. We used to have hospitals for that. Now they're all in prison.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the hospital.
There's a lot of look. I'm happy that you guys are doing what you're doing because you need to have conversations. And there's a lot of people who, like I said before, like they don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have these conversations. Like that shit's fucked up. But you know that's that's your experience. And I don't wish that moment on anybody.
Yeah.
I also part of me thinks that like
if it was just one thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
then I think it's easy for you to overlook. But I would get threatened by people in the office. You better be glad this plastic is between us. And there was time that I was very happy that we had that stupid COVID plastic in there because
people start sneezing on your plaid.
No, but people would get mad and be like yelling at me and
But that's a tense time for everybody, you know? Like were you there? Was that during COVID?
Yeah, I got hired right in 2020.
Look, man, people. This is coal country. We don't know what's in the water here, ruining our brains.
Something crazy.
Something crazy.
Yeah, but that's like that sounded. Honestly, that sounded to me like it. I don't know how, but it sounded to me like it was picked up in the middle of somebody's tirade at somebody
and
else.
I would have thought that too.
Like,
was
I wrong? I heard somebody
because that's kind of like.
Because when I never would have thought that because it was so like specific.
So when I first heard that, I thought it was, and then they were like, "Oh no, they're talking about gay people because they said faggot," and I was like,
"But they also said the N. They also said the N word, and they also said the C word."
Like,
oh, there's a C bomb there.
Yeah,
I said that. I'm getting shit for that. I said it on a podcast. I'm getting shit for it. Yeah, I said the C word.
Really?
Yeah, somebody's talking about the New York Times. Was it the New York Times?
Yeah, wasn't it Borthwick?
Yeah, Borthwick was talking about the New York Times, and he's like, "What did he call her? The gray lady?"
He's called the gray lady.
Yeah, and she's like, "Well, she's the gray lady," and I said she's a. We're talking about we're talking about a newspaper.
Yeah.
Who am I offending?
Well, what's wrong with the F word? If you say the F word or the D word or the S word, why can't you say the C word?
Right.
I think it's a term of endearment because in Australia and England, they all, hey, you C word. You know, you dirty old C word. Like
that's my best friend's favorite cuss word is C word TY. Like,
yeah.
Like,
I got one for you. I got to go for you. Did you ever see that show Rescue Me? With Dennis Leary.
Oh my God, I loved that show.
Twunt. You can say it anywhere.
That was such a
no
good
one
show.
has made it a curse.
Twunt.
Yeah, I think, look, there's a lot of things that we need to do. I think the very first thing is to, first of all, realize that like all of us are getting screwed. And then after that, then we can go talk to people to fix stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not doing it.
And
they
we're
use
not
us
screwing each other.
And they use us to perpetuate the message.
Yeah.
Of being,
and I think
like, I'm screwed, you're screwed. Let's be screwed together for this person.
I go back and think of like all these cultural topics and kind of like the hot button issue stuff. And when I really, really think about them, I come to this like conclusion that it's not really us telling each other that. It's somebody else telling us to tell each other that. Whether it's social media, whether it's the news, whether it's the newspapers, whether it's
right, because
whoever.
We're all fighting each other, and the people
but they're telling us that we're different,
and the
we're not,
people
we're
that we need to fight are the people who are in charge, and the people who we need to rise up against are the people who are in charge. Chelsea's not stealing my wages. I'm not making enough money, not because of her, not because of some immigrant, not because of affirmative action. We're not making money because the people at top are taking all the money.
Yes,
and they're pointing at us at each other and, having us point the finger at each other. And it's not even that.
If we're fighting with each other, we're not paying attention to them.
Well, listen, it goes back to united we stand.
Divided we fall.
Period.
And the biggest transfer of wealth in human history happened between March of 2020 and I'm just letting you know.
$13 billion a day. The rich people were gaining wealth by 13.
Yeah. Meanwhile, your taxes are going up, and meanwhile, you can't buy eggs.
You can't get food.
Yeah.
So we're not. I'm not in I'm not. My husband and I are. I don't know if you couldn't tell, but we're definitely not wealthy people. But my husband's.
How would I be able to tell that?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I come across like I act my wage. I don't know.
What?
But,
I love that. I have never heard that.
I think like, you know, but
I do not think I act my wage.
You definitely don't, girl. You act way outside your wage.
Higher? Or what?
Way higher.
Yeah.
Way higher.
You strike me as somebody who what would it be? It would somebody said it to me today. Like my wife is very like easy-go-lucky and not high maintenance.
Bougie?
Bougie. Yeah,
my
you're
towels,
a little bougie.
My towels say bougie.
She's bad and bougie. Your towels say bougie?
Yeah.
Of course they do.
They're
really?
black and they say bougie at the bottom in gold.
I still don't know how to spell bougie.
But
B-O-U-G-Y?
I think it's B-O-U-J-I-E.
J-I-E? Oh, that's French.
Bougie.
Yeah, like it's from the bourgeois.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
Love it.
hoidies.
You're like the dialect
She's like,
in the.
She's like, it's bourgeois. Yeah, and what else would you like to know about this group that I really enjoy?
But
You were saying, I'm sorry.
But no, like my husband's like definitely like, you know, blue collar work. You know, 40% of his paycheck goes to taxes.
Now, what about your purchases?
What do you mean?
Add the taxes on your purchase.
Yeah, because we pay like
I don't know what you mean.
Triple taxes. So if you're gonna pay taxes, it should be okay. We're paying taxes.
Yeah.
But now when you go to the store, you're paying taxes on that.
6%.
Now with like
Your fuel,
everything,
your utilities.
So you're like
your insurances.
But that's what I'm saying, and I'm like it's crazy because we're talking, and like my husband's the best.
Tax my $100 once, 6%, and then don't tax me on anything else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But he's saying that he's like not in a hopeless way, but he's like, you'll never get like he works probably what's a normal work week? 40 hours. He's got to work 90 hours a week on average every week, and he doesn't make overtime. He just has to do that to keep
What's he
up
do
with
if you don't mind me asking?
He works for a nuclear power
man.
plant.
He should have not took that management job.
But he
You're poor.
So he could rack in that.
You're in charge of radiation.
oh well, he's not in charge of it. He works there.
If one cog in that wheel fails, that whole machine.
That's actually his department.
Oh, he's the wheel cog department?
No. But he's the maintenance department to make sure that the cooling towers stay the way that they are, so that everything doesn't.
If I may,
please
that
do.
seems incredibly important.
Oh, I think it's super. He was an essential worker. He's
Well
definitely
paid.
important.
Can I tell you something? We're all essential.
No. You know who's well paid? The directors.
Yeah.
The CEO. Extremely well paid.
Oh yeah.
And their stock options are beautiful. But like he's looking at me and he's like, you know, like how could I ever? There's no possible way for me to go back and get my degree, like because I'm working all the time.
Yeah, they
and
tell you that. Go get a new degree.
And then too, what's the most important unit in the United States? The family unit. How does he?
How?
And then me, I work 2 jobs. I have off 1 day a week, sometimes 2. So it's like, and here's the thing:
I'm gonna find a meme.
We're paying. I'm not complaining. We're paying our bills, but I'm just saying, like, you look at what is taken out in taxes, and it's every single time. He always tells me, he's like, "Chow, just keep it moving." Like, there's no, and I'm like, it's so depressing every single time to think about like the way we live is very modest. I'm a frugal. We're not big spenders. Our home isn't fancy. Our cars aren't fancy. I'm driving a Ford Focus, babe. Like
I love me a Ford.
Nothing's fancy, nothing's whatever, and it's
fucking
like
off-road
I
disaster.
like your house. I think it's nice.
Well, yeah, but
it's a nice size house too.
Well, how many people live there? But I'm just saying, nothing is fancy. We don't overspend, and it's just hard. I feel like as an American who is a super hard worker doing it, it's hard to get ahead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because of part of the taxes. I'm like 40% of a paycheck goes to your
Bro,
to
and
the
I
taxes.
told you last year, my rent went up $300 in 2 months.
Good luck. How are you going to survive?
Honestly, I have no idea.
See?
Like
That's what I'm saying.
Legitimately, I'm a single parent.
I hate to say this. I hate nothing makes
Just say it.
Everybody should have voted for Trump last election. Everybody.
I don't know
Because
about
of
that.
the money. I know the money. That's the biggest.
There are people, look, when I was growing up, there were single issue voters, right? All they cared about was one issue.
Yeah.
All I care about is the one person who isn't going to screw me on my paycheck or isn't going to build
It's sad it has to be that way, but
there are people that were like that, right? I think would you take a do-over on that election? If you knew?
Because I disagree with who he had to the Supreme Court. And that's why
Who?
Trump. That's honestly my biggest.
Which one? All of them?
The ones he put in.
Well, I mean, that's always going to be.
I understand that, but for me, that was
so. Wait, you would rather spend more money if you could have 2 different people on the Supreme Court?
It's not about spending more money. It's about. I mean, they just overturned Roe v. Wade, and
they didn't though. They moved it back to the states where it should have been. And here's why I agree with this, right?
Well,
because I believe that all 50 states are their
offline,
own.
I can tell you stories about why you should not agree with that.
So my way of thinking of it is that the United States is 50 countries who agreed to have a military to protect us. That's in essence what it's supposed to be. That's why
I'm not disagreeing with it being in the States. Honestly, I'm not. But for me, it's just like, it's a popular issue with people. Like Americans as a whole agreed that abortion should be a woman's choice and it should be legal and you should be able to do it. And then I'm like, okay, well, we're going back to the States. So now what about the states that are completely outlawing it and making
that's why
it
they're states.
Impossible?
That's why you got to move. So people will argue that's the beautiful thing about America is that without a passport, without anything, you go to any other state.
Okay.
I know this is a hard topic to talk about.
I'm a single parent.
Yeah.
I'm on disability.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not working this summer because I can't. I calculated out if I got a job this summer, I would owe $12 at the end of the month with putting my kid in some type of summer camp.
You would owe 12.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
What do you mean owe?
I would. If I
You'd
had
be short 12
I would be
bucks.
Oh, you'd be
12,
short.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
And that's if I'm working a 9 to 5 regular. That's not including if I get a job where I have to work the weekends.
Right.
So now that's extra childcare. Or if I have to work nights, that's extra childcare. And it's like, so if somebody's in a position I'm in, where am I going? How am I moving? How am I going to move somewhere and pay first, last, deposit, pet fee on a place? Like, how am I supposed to save money on that when I'm a disabled veteran and I have a fixed income?
Which is the same reason why people who have cancer can't get cancer treatments in America and they have to travel other places. I mean, it's
disgusting.
It's equivalent to that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I lived in Qatar and
is it Qatar or Qatar?
Qatar.
Okay.
And I have health problems from being in the Navy, and my mom all the time is like, dude, you need to go see your cousins. You need to go over there. Because I lived over there. She's like, you need to go over there and get good doctors and like free medicine and everything. We flew my grandmother there when we lived there for her to get surgeries and medical
did she survive?
care. Yeah. She,
why don't they do that here?
When I went
you know what Trump
when
passed?
I went on a cruise to the Bahamas, we all loaded up our suitcases full of medicine. Like, we went to the pharmacy on the corner, got antibiotics, got diflucam, like got all kinds of stuff. I got an inhaler, like that you either need a prescription for here or it's $950,000, and then just like brought it back. Like, it's stupid. And I wish that like you could just move and could just go somewhere else. And I love that about America that you can. But for many people, it's just not a possibility. So when you take away that right for them right there, you take it away totally.
But are you living their life or your life? See what I mean? So in other words, like when we start, and this is not to be insensitive.
No.
When we start spending a lot of time focused on people who aren't us, we are not focused on ourselves. Does that make sense?
I can focus on a lot of stuff. I can focus on the Kardashians I can
Amber,
focus.
don't watch the Kardashians.
I actually was watching
terrible.
it last night.
They don't know, oh my God. Kim,
I have like every book.
what had they done though? Like, what did they, like prior to that? Like, I don't understand the fixation.
So
I still don't
actually,
understand.
do you know why I love, want to know? I'm going to tell you guys why I love Kim.
And then I want to share, we have this segment on our podcast called Time.
Yeah, how long do you
for
want to go?
Unpopular opinion. And I want to share an unpopular opinion when you're done talking about Kim.
Okay.
So
I can't, because I love you.
Okay.
I will let you tell me about the Kardashians.
All right. So when Kim had her sex tape, right?
With Ray J?
Yes.
Never saw it.
And it
That's okay.
And it came out, and she actually she's one of the reasons why there's revenge porn laws, because of like she was trying to fight for her tape or whatever. But like she was able to go through this horrific situation in public that was absolutely terrible, and then be able to sit with her family and turn it around, and her mom be like, "Know what? This doesn't define you. We're going to define us." And I got kicked out of Bible college, and it was one of the lowest moments of my entire life. I came back to the Poconos to a house because nobody lived here, with no heat, no water. I ended up getting really, really sick because I was cold.
How old were you?
I was
19.
No, I was 21.
Oh, were you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 21.
I was 21. And I just turned
Oh
21.
yeah, I was a third year. Yeah.
And I just remembered, like, if she can come out of this where everybody saw her hoo-ha and still be like, no what, I'm not going to let this one moment define me. I'm going to still prove myself and I'm still going to make something of myself. I was like, this is the lowest moment of my life. I've never failed anything before ever. And I just was like, and it might sound silly, but I was like,
Doesn't sound silly to me.
If she can sit there and do this, then I can overcome getting kicked out of Bible college and like get my life back on track together.
But isn't that, I'm not happy Kim Kardashian gave you that message, but it's a great message, don't you think?
Yes. Yeah.
Don't you think it would behoove us as a civilization, as a society, let's say just Americans, right? Wouldn't it behoove us to impart that on our children?
Yes.
To say, no matter what, like everybody in their life has difficulty.
Right. And sometimes you fail.
And that's okay. But as long as you keep trying,
yep,
that's when you see that like brass ring. That's when, and it's never like, oh, by the time I'm 35, I'm this. It's like, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. You just got to keep trying.
Right.
Wherever life opens up its paths for you, it does. Don't hate it because maybe it's beautiful. It's just how you look at it.
I call it failing forward. You fail up, you fail forward.
Find whatever you can. I think that's a good sentiment. I think that's something like that should be imparted on everybody.
That kind of was just like the way that I looked at it. And, and her mom was like so supportive. And I know a lot of parents who aren't that support. Like if that would happen to somebody, like what, you know what I mean? But I'm saying like, how would their parents have reacted? How would their family have supported them? And
I'm going to burst your bubble real quick on two things. I hope you're not mad at me.
What?
One, her dad was Robert Kardashian.
Well, yes.
So she didn't actually end up like on the wrong side of the tracks.
No, she didn't.
And number two, somebody should have told her not to bring a video camera in the bedroom. Pull it hard.
I mean, that's true, but
do you see what I'm saying? Where it's like, but she wouldn't be a billionaire right now. You know what I mean? And the other question is she happy? I don't know if she's happy.
I think she's more happy now.
I mean, she's got fuck you money, but
in a long time.
I think that's the way to. I think that's the way to like get freedom is to like not have to worry about paying your bills for the rest of your life.
True.
And then you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
I think she saw something in Kanye.
She did, but I think like because
we all think he's crazy, and she married him.
She said that like he's a completely different person.
I believe that.
And when I tell you, the person that I married and the person that I divorced, completely different. And if I would have known that person, I would have never done it. But people pretend and lie and manipulate.
Not like I don't need to know like gory details, but do you like know that there's a moment where like it changed? Can you define can you recognize it in hindsight?
Yes, I can. And just a level of respect.
So did he get disrespectful?
Yeah, he fucked people in my bed in my house.
That's not good.
With my baby in the room.
Fair enough.
With my baby as I was working 24-hour shifts.
Amber, no more. No more guys like that.
Dude, I'm saying I'm being lesbian.
No. I mean, you could if you want to, but don't be like, dogs don't work. I'm getting cats.
Yeah.
That worked out well.
That's what I did with dogs and cats.
Yeah. I hope your kids are okay.
They're fine.
Yeah. How are we doing? You think we're doing all right? You having fun?
Yeah, I love it coming here.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do.
I'm having a great time. I'm loving this.
Are you really?
Yeah, I am.
Are you?
Yeah.
All right. Well.
So I just want to ask you, so what do you
now we're getting back to it.
What do you hope to accomplish if you win? Like, what is your main thing your goal?
I mean, I look, because she asked me a question. Do you want to tell her what it was?
I asked him just what he wants to accomplish if he wins, what his like main goal is for.
And then we can do.
I need to know.
And then we can do your what's it called?
Your unpopular opinion.
Unpopular opinion.
Yeah, I want to hear your unpopular opinion.
Dan loves games. Dan loves games.
Oh.
You guys want to do smelling salts?
We got them right there. Here, give them to me.
I saw this.
Here, I'll do this, and then I'll answer your question.
Oh my gosh!
All right, ask it again while I'm doing it.
What do you hope to accomplish, or what is your main goal for the school board if you win?
Oh, wait till they see that clip.
What is?
Oh, it's stuck in my nose. It like hit like a hair or something.
Did it come back out through your eyes again?
Red. You're getting very, very
Did you ever
red.
do those? Did you ever do those?
No.
I did when I lifted.
It's like straight up ammonia.
I did when I lifted.
Yikes.
I would
Did you
do
ever?
it.
Did you ever inhale pool water in your nose?
Yes.
Pretty close.
Yikes.
Okay,
Oh my
what do I
God.
want to accomplish? I think that there are generations of children right now that have been traumatized by what we did to them over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Facts.
I think that school boards and government has, in the intention of being helpful, have been more harmful.
Yeah.
No Child Left Behind is one of those things.
Oh, that was terrible.
And we just keep kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
And I feel like we could do better with less. I think there are too many policies. I think there are too many restrictions. I think for students and for educators, I think that children aren't allowed to grow, and children aren't allowed, and teachers aren't allowed to water them.
Yeah.
Make sense? I think we need to get a lot of the BS out of the way. Because what happens is like when you get elected to these things, I find a lot of people now make judgment through fear instead of using their gut and their instinct and their moral compass.
Right.
I think they get conflated with, oh, my friend, but you're going to hurt my friend, or you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. And it's like, whether I'm here or I'm not, your friend might still get hurt.
Yeah.
So you can't be like, I'm the one doing that. And what's terrible is most school districts are operating on the sins of the past. And if I can equate it to like a war zone, it's like they have open wounds and somebody's somehow keeping them alive and walking instead of triaging it in the moment and making sure that
and there's such a big difference between the schools here
speaking
too.
in like these weird riddles, but
Like
No.
So
That makes
I
sense.
worked as a social worker at John Adams, and my daughter goes to Robert Morris.
I went there too.
Yeah, it's a great school.
It was. Yeah.
Well, that's in the highest tax bracket, and also I'm on the PTA there. Raise insane amounts of money.
Good.
Right. And it's great. And I love it. And I love their program. I love their energy. I love the principal, like the vibe. It's so good. And then you go to another school that is 5 minutes away, and it's a shit show. And you can just tell that like they're not getting the funding. They're not able to fundraise the way that Robert Morris is, because these parents are, in a lower income bracket.
Right.
And so, and also they're blue collar workers. They're working, they're not able to go to PTA meetings. Like,
Right.
They're not able to go volunteer and read to the kids and do all this stuff. And at Robert Morris, like, you just have a lot of stay-at-home moms because the husband is providing and they make them enough money that the mom can stay home. And then
What's that?
girl. And then also it's like, you also have to consider the hours of school are insane. So like my daughter some days gets out at 1:50, and I'm like, what kind of job are
Gets out at
people
1:50?
supposed to have and everything? And it just made me so.
But you said it before. A lot of stay-at-home moms.
Yeah. And it made me so sad because these kids at that school, I mean, the stuff that they went through, like no beds, homeless,
At Robert Morris?
No.
Oh.
At John Adams, moving from couch to couch, no parents, poor, just, and it broke my heart because I'm like, these kids don't even need school. They need so much more than that.
Yeah, they need stability and
they need, they need stability. They need all
positive
of
role
those
models.
things, and I remember during COVID, there was a mom who was living in a hotel with her kids, and they were sharing her phone to do schoolwork.
Yeah, it's insane.
And there was one person. I had a lot of people message me and apologize to me because they were like, I'm really sorry because I was scared and I was worried about my kid. Mm-hmm. And we have Wi-Fi at home and we have a computer at home. So I pushed for virtual school because I was worried about my kid. And they were like, but I didn't think that other people didn't have the same things, that other people didn't have Wi-Fi, that other people didn't have computers and didn't have all those things. And it's, and it's just such a big difference between these schools. And like when Robert Morris closed for the asbestos thing, and they moved the kids, I just did virtual school with her. Cause I was like, I don't want you to go to that school because it just wasn't the same.
So let me ask you a question. You brought up something about fundraising, right? So if it seems like you're happy with Robert Morris.
Yes.
Okay. So are they wanting for much at Robert Morris?
No.
So do you think the parents of Robert Morris would be okay with all that fundraised money to go to other schools?
No, they would not. I would. I'm okay with it. But I think it's needed. We did one fundraiser that was like some like stupid thing. We made like $4,000 and and I was just like, damn, we're over here.
So why don't a lot of parents from Greenridge say, hey, here's how we fundraise, or Robert Morris?
Well,
and go to the other schools and educate them.
At the other schools, what I found was there wasn't even really a PTA because a lot of the parents just were working and didn't have time or whatever. So,
I mean, look, these neighborhood schools, right? Just like Robert Morris,
which I think are great.
They're awesome,
yeah,
right? And we shouldn't close any of them.
No,
like we did.
No, that was terrible.
And well, I'm just going to let you know, there's still some on the consideration for the chopping block, and I'm against all of it. But these neighborhood schools, I think that a neighborhood school from neighborhood to neighborhood should be different. It's different. It's different groups of people.
Some of them, like Bencroft, was mostly English as a second language students.
Yeah.
And so when they closed that school, I was like, what's going to happen to them? How are they going to be treated? How are they going to learn? Because these teachers know that their first language is not English, and that's how they're doing those things.
Yeah, there's over 60 languages in Scranton School District. Yeah. Over 60.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the population is mostly minority, and there's like one black teacher also, which is ridiculous.
So I've asked about that. And you know what I was told? Nobody applied.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like.
But then you have to. So when I started working.
So what they are doing, they're raising the salary for a starting teacher in Scranton, I believe, starting next year. I think
when
it's
I worked at the city, they would
say. Is it a living wage?
Depends on where you live.
Here, probably, but.
Scranton.
See, I would love to go back to the times of my grandparents where it was like you could have the dad work 8 hours a day and mom can raise the kids. And today that sounds sexist. Today that sounds.
It's not sexist to me. Keep me at home.
Keep me at home. Whoever told you to burn your bra? I want to be barefoot and pregnant and making dinner.
My house would be medical.
My house would be so clean.
My house would be so clean. I would have a 6-pack.
Oh my God.
My daughter would know 4 languages. My daughter would know 4 languages. Like she would play every instrument.
Somebody marry me and I will cook you dinner.
So we agree on that.
Yes.
So why did that not happen? Like, why did that stop?
Because the powers that be. Time for an unpopular opinion.
Is this the one you wanted to do? Or
no.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's so many I lose track. This one is because if they're having the men, vast majority of the men, go to work and they can tax them, why not have both people go to work and completely divide the family unit so we can tax them both?
Okay, so you and I agree.
I think we do.
Because it's like, we need more money.
They want more. They want more money.
Now we've increased the tax base by 50 or 100%.
And then if we have the family unit divided,
we can now take your children and
mold them into whatever we want them to be.
Yeah.
Or want them to think or want them to.
I love this, Dan.
It's great. I love it.
Are you enjoying it?
I really am. Yeah.
Are you being facetious or are you?
No, I know you can't read my sarcasm, but this is not one of those times.
Okay, awesome. How far have we gone?
About 2 hours and rough 2 hours, 10 minutes.
On a Saturday night.
It felt like it was 4 hours. Oh, we're crushing it. We're doing great.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, usually we have podcasts that, like, when we do our podcast, some of them, like, how long was the Sam Faddis? What was the longest one we did? We did like a 2 hour and 45-minute one. Was that Ty?
No, what was that guy that you met that Micah met on the corner?
Oh, Cade Levinson. Cade Levinson. Lyndon LaRouche.
Yeah.
He came in and talked about the LaRouche organization.
We got real weird, turned the lights off at like one point, and
I like that.
gone to like deep weird.
This is just a guy that the other guy met on a corner who was talking, like, Lyndon LaRouche ran for president like 5 times or something. Like, it's just this whole, he was arrested by the government, and then we thought he was going to be like a loon.
Yeah.
He came in and I'm like, this is one of the smartest dudes I've ever met in my life. He's brilliant. You good? Oh, we'll put it in their bowl.
Says the people with no kids.
I have 2 kids. I laughed.
He has 2.
You have I thought you said you both have no kids.
Oh, no, I have 2. They're 8 and 10.
Are they the best?
I love them so
Everything,
much.
I know.
One of his children is incredibly talented artistically, and the other one, which one's sad?
The artist.
The artist is sad, but he's amazing.
They have to. Yeah, they have to be. It's a whole vibe.
Yeah, he was sending me artwork, and I was like, I don't know, like, because I do media here, and I'm like, if I hire him, is that illegal?
Well, I have a picture in my office. I'll show you afterwards.
Yeah,
the
cool.
Russian propaganda thing, more or less. But
that's basically what he made.
Wow, I love that.
All right, you want to do your unpopular opinion?
I don't know, because it's not valid. I mean, it's not like relevant at this point in the conversation. But like I said, I have so many. So
Do you want to do one? Dan loves games.
Well,
do you want to do 2 unpopular opinions or 3 a couple unpopular opinions?
we can all share an unpopular.
You can have that. That's yours.
She needs to open it.
Oh, here, come here.
you got that?
For anyone who's listening, there's children here.
The children are our
We
future.
found them. Yes, you can. Do you want soft or hard ice cream?
Stop.
Heck yeah. Do you want twist with sprinkles?
I want.
Jimmy's.
Jimmy's, yeah.
Come here. Come here. Tell me here. What do you want? Come here.
Tell the
come here.
people. You got to say it in the microphone.
Come here. It's not gonna bite you. No one can even tell. Come here. I just want to hear you say it.
Yeah,
What kind
you
do you
can
want?
go.
Vanilla? What kind of vanilla? I threw a curveball at her. What toppings? Do you want any toppings? Sprinkles? Anything? Rainbow or chocolate?
Yeah.
All right.
Forever.
You're the best. No one asked you.
I ask you. I want to know.
No Jimmy's for you.
Well, you're getting,
I know.
You're getting whatever you want because it's Saturday.
She since she's been
She's
allergic
awesome,
to
dude.
red dye, she's like, I can't have anything. I'm not allowed to eat anything.
Yeah, when you start looking, like, I was looking at this article the other day, and it was like ingredients in McDonald's French fries, and it named off like 17 ingredients, and it was like, why isn't it just potatoes and salt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you figure out like what, like that red dye that you're going through.
It doesn't
Because-
mold either.
because they hate us.
Neither does a yoga mat.
She's sad because she doesn't want sprinkles, and now she won't eat only if she gets.
She'll get sprinkles.
She can have chocolate sprinkles.
She can't have red dye sprinkles though. I'd be a great dad. Don't you think so?
Preparation.
Don't you think so? My wife watches me with kids. She's like, "You'll be a great dad," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I get to like give them back."
Yeah, that's
How
what
long
I
have
used to
you-
always like too.
How
Is
long
like
have you been married?
So I met my wife in
I love her.
2012, 2013.
She's great. And she's so
she's
pretty.
a Russian.
She's gorgeous.
Yeah, she's Russian. She's
Of
straight off the
course.
boat Russian.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I heard your wedding
Is
was
she-
beautiful.
This is a stereotype, but is she so good at like everything she does?
Terrible driver. She's not good at that, but she hasn't really applied herself because she prejudged the driving that she was going to hate it.
Okay.
Is she
So-
a passenger princess?
She's a passenger princess.
Yeah,
that's why.
yeah,
I mean,
that's
I
fine.
would like to be the same, but
I was.
Go,
I'll
girl.
go. I cannot.
I have
I will
never-
ride.
I have never driven in the car with my wife.
do you drive her
Everywhere.
everywhere?
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that.
That's
See,
what I'm saying.
so is she a bad driver or is she just super smart?
Exactly.
I don't know.
Literally.
Wait, now that I'm thinking about it,
Uh-huh.
just like some lady ruse.
Yeah, you got had.
Did I get used?
Mm-hmm.
My wife is a conniver.
Oh, shocker! The Russian can't trust her.
Oh,
She's a genius.
Yeah. Yeah.
she's actually honestly she's literally the best thing in my life.
Oh.
Yeah, I love her to death.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Crying
awesome.
over here and single.
Amber, I'm gonna tell you my trick.
Single and ready to mingle.
Here's my trick. Stop looking
No, I'm not looking.
and be very, very specific.
And selective.
Yeah. When I met her, we sat down and I said, "Here's what I'm not looking for."
Oh,
Here's what I don't want. And if you don't want to, that's fine. No harm, no foul. But she was like, that seems reasonable.
and then she was like, here's what I'm looking for. I'm not driving.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was like, okay. For the first like 5 years of our relationship, she didn't have a license.
I'm saying that's what I'm talking about.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you just got to find I have found that there are amazing people in unexpected places.
Yeah, I believe that.
And so I'm sober, and one of the things that
Nothing.
Oh yeah, you're whatever.
I'm amazing.
Yeah, I love you. Kisses, smooches. One of the things that I realize is like you can't. It's people. You have to change your routine a little bit, right? People are unhappy, and how do you lock the door on kids? This must be terrible when you're taking a shower.
Yeah.
I shower with the door open.
I don't know the last time I did anything by myself.
Yeah, you're not.
I just chained him to the radiator.
They're
I'll be back in
there.
20.
All the time. They'll actually like just follow you around.
Well, I've been teaching about them now. I'm like, boundaries.
Is she your only one?
I have a stepson. She's my only biological one.
Is the stepson older, younger?
Older.
How old?
18.
Oh, so okay. Is he trouble-ish? Okay, then that's great.
Is she lying?
No, he's
No.
not. He's 18.
Well, that's what happens.
His mother, parents.
The helicopter?
No. Like extremely different.
Like drone.
Like if just parents completely different, but he's not trouble. He actually just started his full-time job on Monday.
Yes.
Oh yeah, what's he doing?
He is working in a machine shop.
Oh so like
Okay.
we need these people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They have like a little
Go get a liberal arts degree, or you could be a plumber and in like 3 years be making $100K.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I said. I was like, he's making good money for an 18-year-old. And So, what were you saying?
When I was 18, remember I was working as a janitor?
No.
Bro, when I lived with you.
Oh, I thought we were doing camp counseling at that point.
Amber came home in her custodian gear.
Dude, I made great money. I made like
it was on base.
$20 an hour.
Yeah, it's because I was on base.
No, I was at a public school.
Oh.
In like Ewing, Trenton, something.
That would be
Dude, I'm saying, I was like, really? $20 an hour? I was like 18. I was like, I'm here.
Hey, now
for
it's at
this.
Sheets. Isn't that insane?
I would rather be a custodian than
make an MTO.
Have you ever been to Sheets? Like, just any given
my
time.
My aunt used to work at Sheets.
It's a mess.
Oh, I'm at Sheets a lot.
I mean,
you know they have tacos 6 for $6.
But have you ever been to Wawa?
No, fuck Wawa.
No, whoa.
Those are
those are fighting words.
Wawa's probably better.
I just feel like I was assaulted.
To Blake's Fleet to go to Wawa. Like,
do you want to go to Wawa? They're building one up here.
The only people who don't like Wawa are the people who've never been there.
Oh, I've been there. They had them in Virginia. Disappointed every morning with my coffee and my sandwich.
Well, yeah, their coffee's trash, but their
pumpkin spice. Ooh.
But it's in Virginia though. Any Wawa.
Okay, I've been in one in New Jersey on the way back from the beach too.
Was it good?
Banging. It was banging.
No, it was just another trashy Wawa.
No, it was like the hoagie of a lifetime. Dan, I'm shocked.
I
just makes me laugh.
A meatball hoagie with provolone cheese and jalapenos from Wawa.
I mean, the sandwich sounds good, but their bread's gonna suck. So,
and I also want the holiday cookie tubs. That's normally when I go because I buy.
Yeah,
why does no one talk about eating apples anymore? I don't get it.
Because they're all chemically laden.
Laden.
Is it Latin?
WAP.
My daughter eats a lot of apples.
Do you want to do your thing? I'm gonna do your unpopular opinion. Do you have any?
It's not. All of mine are unpopular.
Why do you think that they're unpopular?
Because they have the loudest voice isn't the one sharing the opinions that I have.
Okay. I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, but it's not fun, Dan. It's not like a fun game. It's usually like really like it can go down like a dark, twisted rabbit hole.
Oh, you go dark.
But so and Amber,
I've had former CIA guys on here. We're dark.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I was thinking of my unpopular opinion because when you were talking about Roe versus Wade and how it got overturned, and I was like, okay, but at the end of the day, a lot of women in the United States felt like that was a huge loss for them.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, I feel like it was genuinely another way to skirt the real issue. Okay. It's not abortion versus not abortion. When we have the what's going on with adoption in the United States, it's a crime. And when we're looking at the,
I actually don't. I agree with you.
And
though.
when we're looking at the percentages of foster care system, 75% of kids in foster care will disappear and not
it's like
finish
30,000 a year,
and will not finish high school. 85% of foster children will experience some form of abuse, if not every form of abuse you can imagine. So why are we talking about abortion versus non-abortion? So if anybody thinks that they won during that, you're wrong. Unpopular opinion.
No, I very much agree with you on that one, because I do think it wasn't an issue we needed to deal with. Like, if you don't want to get one, don't get one. But we really have serious issues. And know what? Don't
I'd be
talk
okay with
to
that.
me about abortion when you're not trying to fund clinics for women. So there's places where you can live and be pregnant and you have to drive 2 hours to go see an OBGYN where they're closing all the clinics. And I know how people feel about Planned Parenthood or whatever, but in a lot of places that was the
Margaret Sanger.
only like that was the
Nazi?
only clinic that you could go to get birth controls, to get a pap smear, to get STD testing, to get mammograms.
So
and I just feel like if you want women to not abort their kids, then we need to have a better system in place. Because if you want somebody to keep a kid and then it costs me $650 a month to have my daughter in daycare because Scranton decided to take away free preschool.
I wasn't there at that time.
Like that, you know what I mean?
Wasn't
It's
me.
like you,
Vote for
it
Mark.
kind of like doesn't make sense to me because I'm like, there's a lot of other stuff we can do. Like, let's help women. If you want to, like, let's help pregnant women then. Let's get people to prenatals. Let's get people to the doctor. Let's get them health insurance.
But they can't, because also too, just to get it really dark, if we're not focusing on the situation at hand that really matters, what else can we do with those kids? Sell them for sex and exploitation and organ harvesting.
She's right.
Unpopular opinion.
No,
right.
I agree with her because
So-
now you're having people
okay.
have kids that aren't in the position to,
Okay.
or maybe even don't want them. And honestly, some people don't need to be parents. And then these kids end up in a shitty situation. And now you're funneled into, you know.
I'm going to have an
Sex
unpopular
trafficking.
opinion. You okay?
Yeah, I'll be right back. You're in picture.
Oh, am I? Okay. Watch your neck. There you go. So I really rethought this abortion issue. I was incredibly pro-choice up until about 2021. And I'm a very spiritual person. I think all life is precious. I think there are evil people out there. You know, if you're involved in the child sex trafficking business, I think you should be shot on national television.
At the very least.
At the very least. So my thoughts on abortion are this now. I was incredibly pro-choice, and now I'm very pro-life because I didn't realize that at the moment of conception, there's a flash, like a big bang. Did you know that?
I'm not sure what you're referring to
So-
by
so
like
when
a
the-
big bang in the body.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when the sperm fertilizes the egg, there's actually a chemical reaction with zinc, and there's a big flash that actually happens. So that's peculiar to me to be like, okay, that's the moment. As Bill Burr has this bit about abortion right now. Did you hear it? Where he goes, it has to do with cake. Anyways, the punchline of the joke is, oh man, I can't believe I don't remember this joke. Now you know that I'm not a plagiarist. Basically what he says is like, yeah, I'm okay with your right to do that, but you're still killing a baby. And he goes, and the argument is like, no, you're not killing a baby. He's like, but that's like saying to me that like, I put all the ingredients together to make a cake. I put the cake in the oven, and like 50 minutes before the cake was done, you took it out and just threw it on the ground.
Somebody asked me a question and they said, because I used to be really pro-life. I went to like Right to Life marches and everything. And somebody said if there was a dry ice container with fertilized eggs in it, or a kid, a toddler, and the building was on fire, what would you do?
Save both.
You know
If
what
you can't.
but that's the railroad question. Would you rather save 5 people on this or kill 5 or kill 1? Like it's a moral paradox. just to bring that up as a moral paradox, because there is no right answer.
Well, it's the whole thing. I mean, I'm excessively, extremely pro-life, 100%.
You guys are a good team.
But I don't.
But Chelsea also agrees that like people need birth control, people need condoms, people need prenatal care.
Well, yeah, I'm like, I don't know how we're overturning Roe v. versus Wade, but then now trying to work hard on making access to birth control impossible.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
So here's how I look at it, right? Is that, you were saying before, like the family unit, right?
Yeah.
The nuclear family. I don't know who decided to destroy that.
The government.
But it's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
When you know what a huge part of destroying that family unit was?
Prison.
Abortion.
Yes.
And then they told us that it was our right and that we should be happy about it.
So you're Robert Morris, right? Lot of stay-at-home moms, right? They don't have to worry about those things.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about that because the husband, works, whatever bank he's CEO of, and they get to do whatever. But it used to be that like you could afford all your medical care, you could send your kids to college, you could live a pretty decent life just on
make three healthy meals a day,
just on one salary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And how I said before with the Scranton School District, like it's the sins of the past that you're playing with, right? So we're at this place, we're at this de-evolution of what it was supposed to be. All those problems, not all of them, but a large number of them would go away and I'm not like this crazy like pro-life conservative. I'm like, this just makes sense. Like why, when we take these things away that we know are positive, net positive,
right?
Not perfect, but just net positive. We don't do those things, it's going to fall apart. It's going to degrade. That's if it's a vehicle, a house, a family, a society. If you're not paying attention to the things that like, I'm all for helping fill the gaps where they weren't before. But we really have to really think about like what we want in the future, because if you can, I can't confidently say that things are going well right now. I can't confidently say that like, oh, this is a great path. Like we just sent 3,000 troops to Europe.
There's going to be 80,000.
I hope not.
Because
that's World War III.
Did you say 3,000? 30,000.
No, it was 3, and then they upped it. I heard
to
it was 3. I heard it was 3 last Friday.
30.
It's going to be 80,000.
It's going to be 80. And that's just as of.
Look, here's the thing. As no
we're
one
arguing
calls me, please.
We're arguing like
do not. I am out of
They're going. The troops are going.
The crazy, like we are like no. The fact that every American isn't like, no, I don't understand why not. I don't understand. Like people need to.
But I don't think people know what's going on. Just like when they're giving how many billions.
Go on the corner. Ask anybody where Ukraine is on a map. No one knows.
But how many billions of dollars have we given to Ukraine?
Over 100 billion.
We can't. Americans.
We can't afford to feed our kids.
Do you know how many of the weapons we sent over make it to the front line? 30%. Do you know where the other 70 go? The black market. And I wouldn't believe that until 3 weeks ago. I saw a cartel guy in a video down at Mexico with an RPG with a serial number from the United States government.
So we talk about the cartels and we talk about the drug wars, and they get all their
$16 million a day.
They get all their guns from us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we're running short on ammunition.
Because we gave it all to Ukraine, and now we're going to send 50,000 troops over there.
But that's what I'm saying. So,
because people got mad at me because I was like, I don't want to send no money to nobody.
Well, I was like, let's send some money, but we're in debt? We're trillions of dollars in debt to China.
Y'all need to do something else.
Like he needs to sneeze, and we're all going to be slaves. Okay, like he's like the wind's got to blow one way one day. But then like now to that point, now we're taking billions of dollars when gas is $4 a gallon and chicken is $14 a pound. Nobody can make ends meet. And we're like, you know what we should do?
Right.
Send billions of dollars to Ukraine.
The food banks are rationing food.
They're all going down. Like the food insecure numbers are going up all over the United States, and the food donations are going down. The whole thing's but like, so I don't think anybody's saying no because they're like, I didn't know that they were sending troops until they're sent.
I know a lot of people who literally do not pay attention. to anything. Do not
blissfully ignorant.
But you know what?
Ignorant.
I think it's because it's too overwhelming. No, it's too overwhelming. I think they're like, this is horrifying. What do I do? There's nothing I can do. And so they just kind of keep it moving because it's like, how do I function?
Because I didn't even know that people existed like that. Because like I grew up in a military
Ignorant
household. Well, I grew up in a military household. The news was always on.
Always on.
You know, we're always watching the news. We're always informed.
18 different news channels.
And then I meet people and like they have no idea about anything. Like, oh, we're out. Oh, Ukraine. And I'm like, how do you not know that?
So the frustrating thing to me about like that scenario is they don't know about what's going on, and I'm not knocking. I promise you, I'm not knocking. They can name every Kardashian. They know.
See, and actually, that is what pisses me off even more because I can too, and I can also be informed. Like, you can have your pleasure, and you can also have like.
It's just embarrassing when you don't know anything, but you know that.
It's your. Well, yes. Some will say that it's your duty as an American citizen to inform yourself about what your government and who your elected officials are.
Because I don't understand why nobody's doing nothing either. Because I don't understand why people aren't just mad.
And I feel like especially when
because if you say I don't want to support the Ukraine, all of a sudden
people got really mad at me.
And you're this.
I said it. Yeah, I said it.
I'm gonna give you an interesting number. Right? Do you know how many bills are passed in Congress with heavy support? Like, let's say 90% of the country will support a bill. Do you know what percentage of those bills get passed in the government?
No.
30%. Do you know what number of bills get passed if no one supports it?
Oh, probably like 90.
30%. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't give a shit. But the problem is we're not holding them accountable.
Well, yeah. California just passed a bill to make human trafficking children not a felony.
California should have an earthquake and drop off into the Pacific.
Hey,
why haven't they already?
There.
Tell them to move before it happens.
God,
you know that was the big thing about Texas when all the people evacuated from California. Texas was like, "We'll take you. Don't bring your bullshit."
Because you're not. Yeah, those numbers are. I have full body chills.
Yeah, just arguing for. Look, here's okay. Look at it this way. Right. This is how I start looking at things.
It's so upsetting.
So if I look back 500 years ago. Right, we have the Incans, the Aztecs, right, and we look at them and we hear the things about them. If you ever watch like Apocalypto, like that Mel Gibson movie, it's like, yeah, they did human sacrifices. They thought that they were going to change the weather. Yeah, right. We're in this world right now, and anybody there. I know that this is a controversial thing, but some people argue that abortion should be legal up until birth. There are people who find that really disturbing, especially since your daughter was born premature.
Yeah,
you know that she can survive. What, 10, 12 weeks premature? So why are we, it doesn't make any, to some people, that's murder.
Well, so the only reason.
Let me finish my crazy example. So some people look at it as you're killing children, right? It's not to say like, you know, there is child, adolescent, teenager, adult. There are cycles just like every butterfly has. I look at in the womb as a cycle. It's part of the journey of life. That's how I look at it. And then we're making sure that some of those kids can't ever reproduce. We're making sure that those kids will never experience an orgasm, that will never experience the way life is supposed to be for them. Everybody's
a lot
different.
of women don't experience orgasms.
Wait, what do you? I'm
like the trans puberty blocker stuff, all that shit. So I look at it backwards and forwards. So if I go back 500 years ago, how do we look at like the Aztecs or the Incans or other societies and how they treated their people? Like they would sacrifice children, they would do crazy stuff like that. So then I go, okay, 500 years in the future, how is our society going to be looked at? Because you're not going to get the nuance of it.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, here's what they did. You know? So 500 years from now, it's going to look like, oh, it's a crazy fucking death cult. That's the way it looks. The African-American community, there's been over 70 million children that were aborted. That means there's 70 million people that weren't born. Like, that's not a minority. That's the majority. Why would people push to make that number increase? It doesn't make sense to me.
But I think that there's this misnomer where people feel like you're pro-abortion. And most people that I
think there's a distinction. I think
are pro-choice. And I am pro-choice. But I also know that I've seen women have to get abortions because they were sick or their baby was sick, or they weren't going to make it full term. You know, one of the first people I actually met and really talked to about having an abortion, I was in the Navy and I met her. And when I first met her, she was pregnant, and then her baby like didn't have like part of its.
That's terrible.
Right. And so she ended up getting an abortion. And I knew another girl who had an abortion, and something was wrong with her, but she carried their ashes, like had them. And I feel like that people is like this lack of respect, or you're just doing it willy nilly, you know. And I feel like a lot of people think it's 13-year-old girls who are whores. And a lot of it is women, grown women, 30s, 40s, who can't afford another kid, or their body's not going to support another kid. And you have to make these really tough decisions. And I don't think most people are making them willy nilly. You know,
I wasn't claiming that.
It's and it's hard out here. And even if you're going to get a DNC, that's still considered an abortion. It's when they have to go in and like remove, like when you don't miscarry all the way, you can go to the doctor and they're going to remove the remains if you don't pass them naturally. But now there's places that you can't even do that. And women are dying because they need this baby, or whatever you want to call it, that is now dead in their stomach. And they're not able to do that because it's illegal to do that. You know,
I don't know. See, I don't think that's
happening.
I don't think to the degree. There might be an example of it, but I don't think that's like because what it leads you to believe is that every hospital will not take care of that in a person, and that doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't, but especially if you have Catholic hospitals, they won't. And then
that's like, you know, it's the same thing. It's like, why would we step into the Hasidic Jewish community and try to tell them how to do things? Do you know what I mean? Like,
but
where's
I think
the line?
that there's just some people really do need it, and
I think that here's how
the only reason that Jacqueline is here is because I was active duty and I had great insurance. If I didn't, she would have died. I would have died. I was in a hospital for a month.
On active duty?
Yeah. On active duty, I was in the hospital for a month. I was on bed rest.
Why was she premature?
Because I had preeclampsia and gestational diabetes.
What?
I had a really high blood pressure.
What's pre what?
Preeclampsia.
Yeah, what is that?
And actually, you know, I knew I had it because Kim Kardashian had it. I know y'all hate me. I promise you, like her feet swelled up, and her body was swelling up, and this whole thing.
All right, so anyway. Kim Kardashian saved your daughter's life.
Yes,
okay, now I look at it differently. It changes things.
Literally, I was like, oh my God, I think I have this.
Yeah.
And then I had to shoot insulin into my stomach every day.
Yeah.
And I had to be on bed rest. I was on pelvic rest. Like I couldn't do anything. And then when I was working,
let me ask you another question. I mean, interrupt you there. If abortion wasn't on the table, right? And let's say that there was a hospital nearby. Let's say you were here, right? And CMC, whatever hospital owns it now. Do you think that they would deny you healthcare? If you're like, hey, I'm pregnant, something's happening. Like, do you think that if you went up there, they'd be like,
no,
on your own, lady?
If in an emergency situation,
right?
But if you're in some places and say you're past 14 weeks and they won't do it, then there are places that will not do it. Even if you're unhealthy and you're physically just not able to do it. Like it gets really complicated and it gets really messy.
I look at it this way. If you take the number, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just keep doing it. I'm sorry.
No, do it. Cut me off.
Like an asshole. If you look at the number of abortions per year compared to how many of those are situations like that, I think the number is minuscule. And
I also think that if there was better access to care,
so healthcare has never been more expensive, and I don't trust them.
But
I'm better off doing the witch doctor in the neighborhood.
But sometimes you need a doctor. I had when I was pregnant with her, my specialist was an hour away from my house. And so I was going to the doctor 3 times a week. I was going to my regular OB, my specialist, and then my regular OB. And it was a lot of gas. It was a lot of, I had to be able to get off work.
My sister had to drive to Jersey at like 6 a.m. like when they, every like 4 days a week just to get pregnant. It was fucking nuts.
And I was watching this Vice.
Amazing. It's beautiful. I love it.
This Vice documentary about women in like Georgia who were driving.
The country or the state?
State. Who were driving 2 hours to go to their OB appointments. And one of the ladies was like, I have a car. I have a job. I have gas money. I'm able to do this. A lot of people aren't able to do this. And it's just,
I've soured on Vice over the years.
Well, that was something that was, I really liked it.
No, I'm sure it was well done. I think Vice's responsibility a lot of times is to
they
find
just went
like
bankrupt
because they were bullshitting people.
Look,
I think, but it's their job. Like they're supposed to like that's their audience, right? The audience that would watch something like that. I don't believe that it's totally indicative of the United States as a whole. And the other thing is like
no, but I think like the Planned Parenthood that we had here closed. Yeah. And when I was in high school,
it was
downtown.
Yeah, I remember what it is now. Okay.
All my friends, we got birth control from there. We all came there. Yeah, got our birth control from Planned Parenthood. I got my first mammogram from there. They used to have like this mobile mammogram clinic.
I had one of those too, but they put me out of business real quick.
My mom had a mammogram there. Like you were able to get free birth control until you were 18, and then it was at a really discounted rate. And because I have high blood pressure.
Yeah. Was the birth control a problem for you because you have high blood pressure? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I had to take a specialty one and just, but I'm like, how many of my friends would have been pregnant if like now, because it's gone. And that's where we went to be able to go have access to care. I mean, people got STD testing done there. I think I got probably my first STD test.
I think people should stop having like, I'm such a hypocrite now later in life. Like in my 40s, because I was like, I like ladies, right, Dan?
Yes, Mark.
Yeah,
you like ladies.
Yes, but I was always respectful. I look back now and I'm like, I should have never been like that. I should have never, but it led me to my wife, so I'm conflicted. It should not be encouraged to be sexually
promiscuous.
Yeah.
But I think that people think if you talk about it, that's going to like go make somebody be permanent. Like if you teach sex education, then it's going to go make kids have sex. If you have condoms at the school, it's going to make kids.
Nobody needed to teach me.
Go have sex.
Somehow I knew.
But in the places that teach abstinence only, in the places that don't teach sex education, they have the highest teen pregnancy rates and the highest STD rates.
What do you mean, like Catholic churches and shit?
No, like Oklahoma.
Well, look, there's not a lot to do there, and there is meth.
There's a lot of meth.
I think I think a lot of these issues come down to an income.
I think don't they have the billboards? Is that in Oklahoma with like
the meth ads I've seen?
Or are they in Arizona? Because I've driven across country a lot, and I was.
Did you ever see a meth ad from Arizona?
Dude,
I've seen meth ads. I don't know
on like the billboard. I mean, it's literally like there'd be one billboard that's like don't. Then the next one, do. Then it like meth. And then it has like a crazy look. And I'm like, is this a problem here? Like I've never even.
It's I don't
even know how to do the meth.
It's a poverty problem.
It is.
It doesn't matter what you look like.
No, and honestly, anything that like the fumes can kill you, I'm just not like, I'm not here for it.
Well, so can alcohol. And that's a poison too.
Yeah, but if I'm making beer in my house, I'm not worried about it blowing up. I'm
all for everybody making all their drugs at home. I'm all for that. Growing them, brewing them, whatever you want to do. What do you think? Are the kids okay?
Yeah, we probably gotta go.
Did we do okay? Did you have fun?
Oh yeah, it was such a great, interesting conversation.
You guys can come here whenever you want and just do like your guests. We don't need us.
Really?
If you want, yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be so fun.
Well, I live super far, but
no, like when you're in town. No, like when you're in town, if you want to do it that way,
yeah.
Like feel free to use.
Well,
this.
if you guys ever want to podcast again, this was
great.
Did you have fun?
I did.
Dan's pretty funny, isn't he?
Dan's hilarious.
He's not bad. What's your hat? Is that a golf hat?
No, Tractor Supply Company.
Am I wearing a John Deere hat?
No, you're wearing what's your
higher?
Oh, Vibe and Higher. Isn't it Vibe and Higher? This is your. So we're gonna cross promote. I'll just give you this file and.
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, yeah, I didn't want to own it. I don't want to be the guy who's like, this is my show or this is Dan's show or
it's not Dan's show.
I want it to be.
He does desperately.
Yeah,
I desperately want it to be.
just,
the
No,
Burns
if you're
show.
cool with that, we're gonna. That's what we were thinking. Promote you guys and your show. And
We're still rolling. We're just talking through it right now.
promote.
Yeah, I didn't want you guys to be weirded out. Like, I hope you had fun.
I did.
I
was
love,
telling, I was
love
like, Chelsea,
good
we gotta
conver-
like, yeah.
I love good.
We do love.
conversations.
That's how our podcast started, is because we talk to each other all day, and we'd have like these really good conversations, and we're like, not to be conceited, but I just feel like other people could like benefit from these conversations.
You guys have a great dynamic too, and that's really what
Dan
key.
loves, like, just trust me, you're listening
We've
to an
known each
expert on
other
this.
since we were 4 years old.
Yeah, and that helps a lot. And like that's where me and Mark kind of started too. That like we used to talk, but like the difference in your opinions, but you're able to talk them out, and you don't get like you're listening and you're talking to each other, and you can both keep a conversation going amongst each other.
I mean, I've learned things from her. I hope that she's learned things from me.
Because above all else, we are still Americans, so we have to be able to respect each other. But can I just tell you, I feel so refreshed in my soul.
I just need you to know that I only think about your mother now.
What?
When you said refreshed.
Oh, refreshed.
Oh, I was. See my eyes? I went like this. I'm like, I don't know what any of this means.
No, I feel
How did you get
refreshed
there?
to my. You don't want to know. I feel refreshed to my core to have a conversation with somebody where you're able to really just be like, no, like, yes, this is why, and then to put not an opinion but some facts behind what you're saying, whether it's popular or not, but then also still be super respectful of it. It's just nice because it's not always the case, and a lot of times the loudest voice isn't always, it's
Right.
just nice. It was a really great conversation.
And I think sometimes it's
I
like
appreciate that. I enjoy talking to
the
you too.
destination is the same and the journey is different. Because like when
Can I get that stitched on a pillow somewhere?
It
yes.
probably is.
trademark What a Week podcast.
Because like when we first started talking, I remember we talked about abortion and stuff, and I'm like, I'm pro-choice, she's pro-life, but like the destination we both want is no abortion.
Yes. Yes.
But like,
And we're very concerned about the children.
right.
Yes.
And so like we have a difference of opinion, but at the end of the day, we're like, what could we actually do to stop this?
Yeah.
Like if that's what you want, then let's go through the motions and do it. And I just found that to be so true. And there's some things like I don't think you can disagree on racism or like homophobia or anything like that. But other stuff, it's like, yeah.
And it's a tough world in here to be able to say, like when we were talking the other week about how I'm like, I have no problem with gay people. I definitely have a problem with freedom of speech being infringed on. Let's find that. It's a tough world that we live in right now, to where somebody's like, no, you hate gay people. And you're like, no, I don't. I literally just said I'm for my rights as an American.
And I think everybody just need to mind their business and just be like, know what, ma'am, sir, I don't want to, like, I'm respectfully declining your whatever, and move on with your life.
But I also think that it's super important to be able to hear and listen to, like really listen to something that someone's saying, whether you agree with it or not, to maybe you can learn something like we were talking about earlier. Maybe you can learn something.
You can even learn one
from
piece.
it. And maybe you can listen to it wholeheartedly and walk away from it being like, no, I still 10 toes down disagree, but like, I hear you,
I think a lot of things nowadays have nuance. And people
Yes.
miss that whole.
Well, that's why we say this on our show all the time. That's why nothing changes, because we're so focused on black and white and nobody's talking about gray. So nothing gets fixed. We're just over here arguing and screaming at each other. And I'm right and you're right wing and you're left wing. And at the end of the day,
same plane, man.
And the issue is still there, and but like now you're loud and mean and now you're loud and mean. Like we miss so much because of division.
We need to listen more. We need to hug more.
Period.
People need more empathy. They definitely need more. We need more empathy and compassion.
And it's not. Once you get to the. I could send you guys down like truth rabbit holes, but like once you
I love a truth rabbit
you
hole.
come to a point where you realize that like we don't know. There's so much in this universe that we don't know. And the only reality that exists is the reality in your mind, and the reality in your mind, and the reality in his mind. In my mind, I don't know. I will never know how you see the world unless you tell me.
Right.
I will never know that like you might have astigmatism in your eye where you can't see red the same way that I see red. Therefore, we will never see life the same way.
I
right?
can't see shit.
Well, you have, I don't mean to tell you, but your glasses are thicker than some hubcaps.
Hey, first
My
of all,
wife's got the same, man.
But very nice frames.
Yeah, they're beautiful. So I am so encouraged, and I am so.
You know, that's funny. Just because I saw a video of astigmatism, and like I have one, and I didn't know that wasn't normal. Until because the lights like
is that like the blur, like the street lights are all blurry and shit? Yeah, I had no idea. I thought I was just like, oh, it's nighttime. My eyes are blurry.
Literally was just the way, and I was watching some video, and I'm like, this is not. This
is not everybody. This is me.
To your point.
Yeah.
Literally.
There's okay. Let me ask you a quick question before we go. Do you believe that everyone has an inner monologue?
No, I do, but I don't think everybody does.
So in other words, like, can you talk to yourself? Mm-hmm. Okay, there are some people that can't. It's wild.
I think
I'll send you a video of like this.
I do think I believe that because I also think that there's people who fundamentally lack self-awareness or the ability to see anything that's going on. And I think because they're not like, wait, is that person, am I too close? Oh shoot, I'm too close to that person. Let me back over. Like I'm like invading there's like, because they do lack that inner monologue. So yes, I don't think that everyone has an inner monologue.
Recently learned that. I thought that everybody talked in their head.
That's a whale of a question.
I watched a video of it. There was this dude interviewing this girl, and she's like, "No, I don't talk to him." He's like, "Whoa, wait, what?"
So what is in your head?
I don't know. She couldn't articulate it. It's almost like she just responds.
Wow.
You know, it's really okay. So can I say one crazy thing, Dan?
You say whatever you want.
Okay.
Is it time for an unpopular opinion or what?
No. There are some people who believe that what we're in is a receiver for our signal somewhere else. And we're now in this world where like they're acknowledging the existence of UFOs, and they're not exactly saying they're interplanetary. They might be extra dimensional. And so there's this really weird philosophies going on right now in like the metaphysical world.
Well, I think there's definitely more than one dimensional plane.
Which opens up a whole can of worms.
You guys have officially surpassed me.
I believe that like time is
time isn't real. Time doesn't exist. Clocks
and that
do.
Everything is happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's interesting that you say that.
All right, start hour 7.
Yeah. Here we go.
Sorry, guys. I know. It's been a long
let's come back and do it. Let's come back and do it. When are you coming back in town again?
I don't know.
I was trying to get her. We got invited to do a breakfast, and Chelsea has to work.
I know, so weird.
Well, she has to buy those overpriced eggs.
Oh my god,
to feed her kids.
Because I live in a place where I'm not allowed to have chickens. So yeah,
you would if you could, though.
Period.
Why did they tell us to make you?
Why can't you have chickens?
Because my yard is this big.
Your yard is big enough for chickens. You could have a little coop.
A little coop.
Yeah, but the lady next door might not want them. You know, that's the world we live in. A world where
Oh
Amber,
my God. Can
live,
people just mind their business? Like, why does it bother you that your neighbor has chickens? Mind your business. Well, no, what? And then I'm turning the music up. Like what?
Well, what's that? Then it's eye for an eye forever, and then everybody's blind.
Well, not turning it up to like be rude, but turning it up to like drown out the chicken if it's bothering me.
I will leave you on this thought. When did someone say, let's get rid of this garden and plant something we can't eat?
Monsanto.
When they realized they could profit off of it.
They made yards.
Tremendously.
Now we have to worry about our yards, and we don't have to. Our food insecurity is in our backyard.
No.
And no one taught us how to do it.
I love the idea of having like a garden as your front yard or, you know, your backyard and stuff. I'm working on trying to get some. We have a pretty good garden like size that I built, and I just don't know what I'm doing.
When you run for school board,
I am running for school board currently.
Yeah,
I'm in the race right now.
I said when you do.
When I win?
When you win school board.
Well,
no, we don't speak that into existence.
I'm not speaking. I'm just saying it might happen. I have to be prepared for
Who's
it.
Who is
voting
I have an R on my name in Scranton. When they look at that ballot, they're going to see my name and an R next to it.
Yeah, but I'm going to see your name and vote for you.
Is Scranton a big D community?
Yeah, it's like 60-40.
But the good thing I do like,
but they're like Reagan Democrats. They're liberals, but they own guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that surprises people so much because people think I'm like so anti-gun because I'm liberal. I'm like, there's a lot of liberals with guns. Like,
sure.
We just don't have an issue with like, if you want to background check me, I don't, okay. You know, but
I'm now like, no.
I mean, the military owned my
Can
life
I
already.
tell you why?
So
I have a buddy around here who's an Army Ranger, right?
I can't own guns anymore because I have a medical marijuana card.
There's a way around that. I said to him, I said, dude, so if you believe in the tenets of the Second Amendment, right? The Second Amendment is enshrined to protect your First Amendment rights if a government gets tyrannical, right? So that at any moment you could take up arms and militia against a tyrannical government, right? Yeah. However we define that, everybo's got to get together and figure it out. Whether
we need to get together and figure it out.
So Amber, watch what you say. Well,
there's a lot of us.
So with I believe that there should be. This might be controversial, but I think there should be zero registry. And the Ray explained this to my buddy who's in the military. I said he was in Iraq, Afghanistan, all those places. I said, when you're going to a target, like you got it, like his job at Army Rangers, like they'll be the guys who like parachute into the and
I
can't think of my military words.
Is a ranger.
So they're badass and they're good people.
Yeah, Captain America.
They're the ones that get there first to make sure everybody else can come in. I said, when you get briefed, do you know all the weapons there, the manpower, what to expect, what you need? Because you need to know everything that you can to intel, to maintain your objective. Mm-hmm. And he goes, yeah, we need to know all this stuff. I said, okay. They're not supposed to know what we own. They're not supposed to know where we bought them. They're not supposed to know any of this stuff because it's not to protect myself from Vince down the street who's, a meth head lunatic. It's to protect myself from them when they start coming after us. Let's say, stuff is like locking you down or forcing you to take things that you don't want to take or telling you that you're supposed to, you know what I mean?
Experimental drug.
Once it gets all or nothing, I'm done.
So that's the reason for, and you could look all around the world and you could say, every time they take away the guns from those people, and the guns is just a weapon. It's no different than a sword 500 years ago or a bow and arrow 1,000 years ago. It was just a way to protect yourself. I might not win, but at least I have something to help myself. And people who think that, like, when Joe Biden's like, but hey, man, we got like planes and stuff. It's like, so did Afghanistan, and the Russians couldn't beat them, and we couldn't beat them. America changed the rules of warfare when they came over here in their lines and we're in the woods shooting them and they're like, where are they coming from?
Exactly.
And then everybody and Americans who weren't Americans at the time, but they were like, who fights like that?
Because they fought the Indians and they learned that from native people.
There's a long history there about like things that I didn't know about, like the Revolutionary War and like the times of like the Pilgrims Onward. Like there's a bunch of crazy shit like that you find out about, like the Indian nations that were around here and some of the shit that they did, and you're like, they loved guns. They loved getting guns from us.
Yeah.
They were like, this helps me take care of that tribe.
Yeah.
That's what they did. They fought. So that the gun thing is supposed to be, whether you agree with it or not, it's supposed to be so I can protect myself in case the government comes after me, whether it's state, local, or federal. So I think if you know what guns people own and what kind of guns that they have and how much ammo they got and all that stuff, obviously that puts them at an advantage over you in a tactical situation. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm like,
I mean, I understand that, but then at the same time, I'm like, there's crazy people, and
yes, but the people with the guns who you didn't expect to have them are supposed to take care of the crazy people. Make sense? I know it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to my mind.
I love my guns.
What do you have? Please say like 1,000.
Name names.
Yeah.
I have my favorite gun is pink 38 special.
Do you really?
Yeah. And I have a Mossberg.
Do you really?
Shotgun. Yeah.
Did you ever put turkey load in it?
Yeah.
Man, that blows your arm off.
Yeah.
That blows your arm off.
That's what we shot in the Navy.
The Mossberg?
Yeah.
What, to like clear shit?
And you had to shoot it from the hip. You had to shoot it from her. Yeah.
I didn't know that. All right, she's taking care of the kids. You want to wrap this up?
Yeah.
Did you have fun?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you so much for having us in your studio. We are here with What a Week podcast. And make sure you follow us on social media. You can find us at Politics But Make It Fashion 1 on Instagram, Politics But Make It Fashion on TikTok, and Politics But Make It Fashion podcast on Facebook.
And Dan's in charge of our social media. We don't know anything about it. So have a great day.
Chat soon.